Chapter 128. One by one, the Transcendents came over and chatted with Dongbo Shuang. He did not ask for anything else, but to at least get to know him. Dongbo Shuang did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. Instead, he greeted every Transcendent with a smile and chatted with them. Face was a mutual thing. If he gave others face, others would naturally give him face. Furthermore, Dongbo Shuang was not a cold person. Even towards water rights towns Dragon Mountain Manor Lord Cian, Dongbo Shuang did not lose his temper just because he was stronger. Snow Eagle, you have become famous after a single battle. Winning 9 rounds of the transcendent battle of life and death is truly amazing. Let's go. Let's celebrate today. Qiu Qibai looked at Dongbo Shuang with a hint of joy in his eyes. His cultivation realm was extremely high. From the water and fire flood dragon kill, he understood that Dongbo Shuang might be able to comprehend the true meaning of water and fire in the future. His tranquil sun province had gained another powerful brother. Qiu Qibai was very happy. Right, let's celebrate. However, old brother Shuang will be the one treating. This time, old brother Shuang has earned quite a bit. That's over 2,500 kilograms of origin stones. I am so envious, Yaoblade Knight Pengshan said. 5,000 gene. I have cultivated for 500 years, and I have yet to collect 5,000 gene of origin stones. You only won 2 rounds that year. How can you compare to Brother Snow Eagle? I'm not asking for much. I will be satisfied if I can get 5,000 gene of origin stones. Sister Ling Shu is not saying anything. Sister Ling Shu has won a few hundred gene of origin stones. Wu Kuei, Dong Yu, Ba Ming, Zone 2, and the others said. They were all Sky Realm Transcendents. It was extremely difficult for them to obtain 1,000 contribution points. They were indeed envious of Dongbo Shuang for obtaining more than 5,000 contribution points. However, Dongbo Shuang had obtained it with his own strength. Everyone could only admire and respect him. Treating is just a small matter. Let's go. Dongbo Shuang was extremely forthright. He received the news from the Infernal Palace through his communication wristband. Because he won 9 matches in a row, he received 5,110 contribution points. The group of Transcendents immediately rose into the air. Just like the other Transcendents, he flew out of the Hall of Life and Death. Countless mortals were slowly walking out in an orderly fashion. Among the crowd outside the Hall of Life and Death, there was a group of legend-ranked knight mages. Jing Qiu was one of them. Look, that's Dongbo Shuang. Immediately, a legend ranker discovered Dongbo Shuang flying in the sky. Jing Qiu raised her head to look. She saw Dongbo Shuang, who was dressed in black, laughing and chatting with Qiu Qibai, Chengling Shu, and the rest as they soared through the skies. I'm in the crowd, and he's flying in the sky. We're in 2 different worlds. I'm afraid he didn't see me. Jing Qiu felt a little sad, but I will also become a transcendent. Jing Qiu's eyes were very bright, filled with fighting spirit. When she became a legend ranker, she was very young. Furthermore, she was a mage. Mages relied on the research and accumulation of nature to become a legend ranker. Thus, Jing Qiu was also highly regarded. It was almost certain that she would become a transcendent. Thus, many legend rankers flocked around her and flattered her. Her future was extraordinary, and she was also beautiful. Many legend rankers were chasing after her. Dongbo Shuang, wait until I become a transcendent. At that time, I will stand in front of you again. Jing Qiu smiled. She had some feelings for Dongbo Shuang. However, the time they spent together was very short. Jing Qiu's mind was still focused on magic research. On the same day, Dongbo Shuang and the rest booked the entire 3rd floor of a restaurant. They were celebrating and drinking to their heart's content. There were also some transcendents who were closer to Qiu Qibai. For example, the Knight of the Left Tan Shi. Close to 20 transcendents were gathered here. Transcendents had a much longer lifespan. If they really wanted to celebrate, it would be normal for them to drink for 3 to 5 days. The female dancers were dancing. The musicians had changed a few batches, and the maids were pouring wine for these transcendents. All kinds of rare delicacies were served to them. Some of these delicacies were even worth a rank 1 refiner weapon. In terms of enjoyment, the Xia capital was a gathering place for transcendence. It definitely had the highest level of enjoyment for the Xia people. Of course, the prerequisite was that you were willing to part with it. Dongbua Shui Ying had been in the Xia capital for half a year. Thus, he had a rough idea of the situation. For such an extravagant celebration, if one were to use gold coins, it would probably exceed 10 million gold coins. That was equivalent to more than 10 contribution points. To Dongbua Shui Ying, who had just obtained more than 5,000 contribution points, it was indeed not much. Nightfall. Dongbua Shui Ying and the rest were still celebrating. Inside the Elder's Hall of the Infernal Palace, a huge circular stone table. Surrounding the stone table were huge stone chairs. Every stone chair was emitting a strange energy wave. It was one with the energy waves emitted by the stone table. Ordinary saint experts would feel stifled if they came here. At this moment, seated on these stone chairs were existences with extraordinary auras. This included Mountain Lord He, faction head Si Kong Yang, City Lady Bu, and Chao Qing. However, old Madame Yu was not present. Only demigods had the qualifications to become the elders of the Xia people. Furthermore, the demigods of the Temple of the Earth God and Bloodshed Tavern did not have the qualifications. This was because these two powers were loyal to the gods and were bound by the rules. As for the other transcendent organizations, they were loyal to the Xia people. The 15 elders have all gathered. On one of the stone chairs sat a black-haired old man. The space around the black-haired old man was faintly distorting. This time, Elder Chao Qing was the one who suggested the opening of this meeting of elders. Chao Qing nodded his head. The black-haired old man said, "Elder Chao Qing, you can speak directly." Although this black-haired old man was not in the top 10 of the demigod rankings, his position was very special. He was the current palace head of the Infernal Palace and was absolutely loyal to the Xia people. Within the infernal world, he was an invincible existence. This old man suggested the opening of this meeting of elders because of Dongbua Shui Ying. Chao Qing's shriveled face revealed a smile like a flower. You all have seen Dongbua Shui Ying's strength and talent. To be able to fuse the profound mysteries of water and fire at such a young age, with such talent, it is very likely that he will comprehend the true meaning of water and fire. I suggest that we place him on the list of substitute elders and nurture him, Chao Qing said. I disagree. Seated on the other side, an old man emitting a faint, baleful aura said coldly, "The true meaning of water and fire is only a grade 4 true meaning. Those who can become substitute elders usually have hopes of comprehending a grade 3 true meaning. Some even have hopes of comprehending a grade 2 true meaning. This Dongbua Shui Ying is still lacking, right?" True meanings were divided into 9 grades. The higher one went, the greater the gap between true meanings. Grade 1 true meanings were legends among legends. For instance, the heaven-defying true meaning of black hole and true meaning of time. Grade 2 true meanings were also legendary true meanings. For instance, the true meaning of space, true meaning of yin-yang, and time stop were all grade 2 true meanings. As for grade 3 true meanings, they were much weaker. The higher one went, the smaller the gap. For instance, the gap between a grade 9 true meaning and an 8 true meaning was very small. After all, they were both low-grade true meanings. However, the gap between a grade 2 true meaning and a grade 3 true meaning was very big. The gap between a grade 3 true meaning and a grade 4 true meaning was also relatively big. He is confident of comprehending the true meaning of water and fire. Furthermore, he has hopes of improving on it, comprehending the even more profound true meaning of yin-yang. Chao Qing said, Improving? That's too uncertain. Who knows, he might be even weaker, comprehending the true meaning of ice and fire." That old man emitting baleful aura sneered. "All right, Elder Dongbua, I know you're against it. You can shut up now." Chao Qing was so angry that the veins on his forehead were bulging. The old man, emitting baleful aura, sneered. He did not say anything else. Chao Qing was, after all, the oldest among them. Furthermore, he was ranked in the top 10 of the demigod list. Furthermore, he had comprehended the true meaning of lightning. He had a fiery temper, and there was no need to go against him. What do the other elders think? Chao Qing looked around. At the same time, he transmitted a message to Mountain Lord He. Brother He, hurry up and help. I agree with what Elder Chao Qing said. Mountain Lord He smiled. On the surface, he was the #1 expert under the heavens. He still had a lot of influence. The other elders all looked over. Like Qiu Qi Bai, he was relatively ordinary among the sky realm transcendents. However, he managed to comprehend the true meaning of void cleavage from the profound mystery of the wind of myriad existences. Mountain Lordy laughed. Dongbua Shuiying is confident of comprehending a grade 4 true meaning, who says that he won't be able to reach a higher grade in the future. Mountain Lord He, that's hard to say. Qiu Qi Bai might be powerful, but that doesn't mean that Dongbua Shuiying will be the same. But he's still young. Mountain Lord He said, don't forget his age. Being young also represents his potential. If he were 100 years old today and had just fused the profound mysteries of water and fire, even though it's not bad, I wouldn't approve of him becoming a substitute elder. However, he's only 29 years old after the new year. He's too young. At that moment, many demigods present nodded their heads. Elder Chao Qing, do you have anything else to say? The black-haired old man asked. I'll say one more thing. Being able to win 9 rounds of the transcendent battle of life and death at such a young age, it shows that he's quite a good fighter. I'm an old man who's about to die. The reason why I suggested this is because I hope that I can nurture more strength for our Xia people, Chao Qing said. All right, this old man has finished speaking. The black-haired old man nodded slightly. All right, let's begin the voting. Agreed. Opposed. Agreed. Agreed. One by one, they voiced out their opinions. The list of substitute elders was extraordinary. Those who merely had a hope of comprehending a grade 4 true meaning were not qualified to enter. I also agree. Then, out of the 15 elders, 9 are in favor while 6 are against. With more than half in favor, Dongbua Shuiying will be able to enter the list of substitute elders, the black-haired old man announced. Chapter 129. Early morning. Dongbua Shuiying, Qi Qiu Bai, Peng Shan, and the rest of them flew back to their respective residences. Master, the gates of the mansion had long been opened. Housekeeper Su Qin, who was dressed in a snow-white robe, shouted happily. Behind her, there were a few maids and guards at the gates who bowed respectfully. You waited for the whole night? Dongbua Shuiying asked. Of course. Housekeeper Su Qin's heart warmed. Transcendents did not really care about the servants in the mansion. There's no need to wait in the future. You don't have to pay too much attention to these empty formalities. Dongbua Shuiying said as he walked into the mansion. He walked to the back garden and reclined on the reclining chair that he usually sat on. With a thought, his extraordinary fighting energy quickly expelled the alcohol in his body, and his mind became clearer. He then picked up a flat wine pot and drank a mouthful of the spiritual liquid from the stone of oceanic boundary. Instantly, his entire body and even his soul felt extremely refreshed and refreshed. Next up will be the time for transcendence to cultivate. Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. I have to think about it carefully. He had just become a transcendent. Transcendents had long lifespans. Sky rankers could live for 800 years. Saints could live for 1,500 years, and demigods could live for a terrifying 3,000 years. He reckoned that it wouldn't be a problem for him to step into the saint realm. He could live for at least 1,500 years. It sounded simple, but in reality, it would take a very long time. Some mortals could live for hundreds of years, and transcendents who had lived for thousands of years were practically living history books to them. I'm only in my 20s. I'm still too young. Even among the sky ranks, there were a bunch of them that could crush him. I'll just follow my previous cultivation method, continuously pursuing the pinnacle of spear arts. Aside from cultivation, I'll take on some transcendent missions. Dongbua Shuang pondered. Any new transcendent would have to complete 10 life or death missions within 10 years. Before it was completed, it was forbidden to leave the infernal world. This was also the reason why Dongbua Shuang told his family that he would only be able to return after 10 years. If it was fast, it could be done in a few years. Dongbua Shuang didn't seem to be too impatient. He had to be careful with every mission. I also need to collect some dossiers on the transcendent seniors of the Xia people's history. Perhaps there are many things I can learn from these seniors' life experiences. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. He was someone who knew how to learn. Ever since he was young, he had read many stories about transcendence. However, those were just stories, and the amount of information they contained was too little. But now that he had become a transcendent, he could find a lot of scrolls about transcendent in history. He would not make the same mistakes that his predecessors had made. He could also learn some good cultivation methods from others. After a long time, suddenly, Dongbua Shuang, a voice came from midair, causing Dongbua Shuang to be slightly taken aback. Raising his head, he saw a yellow-robed figure standing in midair. His eyes were like lightning, staring down at Dongbua Shuang. The invisible pressure caused Dongbua Shuang to feel goosebumps in his heart. It's a demigod. Dongbua Shuang immediately stood up and bowed respectfully. Dongbua Shuang pays his respects to Senior. Follow me. The yellow-robed elder spoke. Yes. Dongbua Shuang immediately flew towards the yellow-robed elder. The female attendants in the mansion below were all slightly flustered, but they didn't dare to make any noise. The yellow-robed elder didn't say anything. He only flew in front, while Dongbua Shuang followed obediently. Since a demigod was here, how would he dare to speak nonsense? One must know that there were only so many demigods in the world, and every single one of them was an overlord. Dongbua Shuang, whose heart was filled with doubts, followed the yellow-robed elder and soon arrived at the infernal palace. To the infernal palace? Dongbua Shuang was bewildered. Who? The yellow-robed elder rapidly descended, and Dongbua Shuang followed closely. They landed beside a winding corridor. That is the 100 Battles Chamber. The yellow-robed elder pointed to a completely sealed house in the distance. Dongbua Shuang, you are very young. Perhaps you might have the chance to achieve the highest achievement in the 100 Battles Chamber. Senior thinks too highly of this junior. Dongbua Shuang replied. At the same time, he looked deeply at the seemingly ancient sealed chamber. The 100 Battles Chamber was known to all transcendents. There were 100 refiner organisms in this chamber, and every single one of them had the strength of a peak sky realm cultivator. Furthermore, they were able to coordinate perfectly. The moment a transcendent expert entered, he would be surrounded and attacked. It would be difficult for him to fight one-on-one, but 100-on-1? This was a battle that would cause despair. Over 90% of Sky Realm transcendents would find it hard to win. However, the rewards for entering the 100 Battles Chamber were very high. Defeating 100 opponents in a one-on-one battle. 10,000 contribution points. Sky Realm transcendents below the age of 60 who won would obtain 100,000 contribution points. This was an extremely exaggerated reward. To a transcendent who had a lifespan of 800 years, 60 years of age was like a mortal's childhood. To be able to pass the 100 Battles Chamber at such a young age, the difficulty was so high that it made one despair. According to Dongbua Shuang's knowledge, in the past 100,000 years, no one in the entire Xia people had achieved the highest achievement. After all, by the time they became transcendents, most of them were already over 60 years old. For example, Dongbua Shuang, who became a transcendent at the age of 28, was the youngest in the past 1,000 years. From the time he became a transcendent, he only had less than 32 years to give it his all. One must have a goal. The yellow-robed elder smiled. To win, one must have the strength of a middle-stage saint. Dongbua Shuang felt the pressure. A Sky Realm transcendent had to display the strength of a middle-stage saint? That was too difficult. Most of the middle-stage saint transcendents would not be able to win. The yellow-robed elder smiled faintly. However, You are still very young. You still have a chance. This junior will work hard. Dongbua Shui Ying muttered to himself. Was this demigod teasing him? 100 Battles Chamber. Any human sky realm transcendent could attempt to enter. However, they could only attempt it once every 10 years. Da-da-da. The yellow-robed elder walked along the corridor, while Dongbua Shui Ying followed behind him obediently. They walked around the gigantic infernal palace for a while. Finally, they arrived in front of Short Mountain. The mountain was only about 200 meters tall. There was a waterfall cascading down from the mountain, forming a curved lake. In the future, when you come here, just follow the path that I brought you here today. If you were to forcefully fly around the infernal palace, you would get lost in the chaotic space. The yellow-robed elder said, "Come, let's go in." Only then did he fly towards a waterfall. Dongbua Shui Ying obediently followed behind him. Hua! The moment his body came into contact with the waterfall, although the water touched his body, the space around him started to distort. Dongbua Shui Ying felt the scenery in front of him changing. After that, his eyes lit up. In front of him was a vast space. There were mountains and white clouds floating in the distance. So beautiful. Dongbua Shui Ying was shocked. He didn't expect the infernal palace to hide such a huge space. He had never heard of it before. In the memoirs of Sea Deity Palace's Elder Leijian, as well as his conversations with other transcendents, he didn't know that the infernal palace hid such a huge space. The infernal palace is the clan's treasure. There are many mysteries within. The yellow-robed elder laughed. Dongbua Shui Ying, for the next 100 years, or even longer, you will be cultivating here. I will be cultivating here? Dongbua Shui Ying was a little shocked. Yes, because of Elder Chao Qing's suggestion, our Xia People's Elders Assembly had a vote. You are a substitute elder, which is why you were able to come here. The yellow-robed elder laughed. My name is Gongyu. I am one of your teachers. You can address me as Master Gong. Dongbua Shui Ying was a little stunned. Senior Chao Qing? Xia People's Elders Assembly? He was a substitute elder? The first chapter was over. The second chapter was about to end. Chapter 130. What's going on? Dongbua Shui Ying could not help but ask. The substitute elder has always been a secret of the Xia people. The yellow-robed old man said, You should know about the elders of the Xia people, right? Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. Of course he knew about the elders of the Xia people. Any human demigod, as long as they were not from the demonic faction, Bloodshed Tavern, or the Temple of the Earth God, had the qualifications to become an elder of the Xia people. The Xia People's Elders Association was the highest echelon of the Xia people. They managed the entire Xia people, ensuring that the Xia people could continue to prosper. The resources of the Xia people are limited. It is impossible for us to groom all of the transcendents. The yellow-robed old man said, Thus, a long time ago, we started this substitute elder plan. We will pick out the sky realm transcendents who are worth grooming and groom them. As long as we succeed, they will be of great help to the entire Xia people. These chosen geniuses usually have hopes of grasping a grade 3 true meaning or even a grade 2 true meaning. The moment they grasp such a powerful true meaning, their chances of becoming a demigod will be very high. Such demigods are the backbone of the Xia people. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. Yes, even if they were both demigods, the difference in their true meanings would result in a huge difference in combat power. For example, Elder Aolan of the Beast race had grasped hold of the true meaning of life. Even though he had not condensed a true deity heart, he was still ranked 3rd in the demigod rankings. He had given every human expert a headache. That was because the true meaning of life he grasped was a grade 3 true meaning. To a race, the true experts at the peak would be of great help to the race. Thus, the Xia people would groom those who had hopes of grasping a grade 3 true meaning or even a grade 2 true meaning. What about me? Dongbua Shui Ying was puzzled. Do you think I can grasp a grade 3 true meaning? No, the yellow-robed old man said. You are an exception. An exception? Dongbua Shui Ying was startled. Previously, we have chosen to groom a total of 8 transcendents. 4 of them have comprehended a portion of the profound mysteries of space. In the future, there's hope of grasping spatial-related true meaning. The yellow-robed old man gone, you said. One of them grasps the profound mystery of death. One of them grasps the profound mystery of life. One of them grasps the profound mystery of extreme Ying, and the last one grasps the profound mystery of time. Dongbo Shui Ying was speechless. Dongbo Shui Ying had long read about the 9 grades of true meaning. This was something that every transcendent had to know. Grade 1 true meanings like the true meaning of time, true meaning of black hole, true meaning of extremity, true meaning of primal chaos. These were all legends among legends. Take the true meaning of time, for example. Under normal circumstances, only those who became deities would be able to gradually come into contact with the profound mystery of time. Transcendents were usually unable to comprehend the mysteries of time, unless the awakened innate talent of the primordial bloodline was a time-type innate talent. Only then would he have a chance to comprehend the profound mysteries of time. Simply put, a grade 1 true meaning was the most perfect true meaning in the countless worlds, including the deity world and the dark abyss. Grade 2 true meanings: true meaning of space, true meaning of yin-yang, true meaning of life and death, true meaning of annihilation, true meaning of reincarnation, time stop, time acceleration, time deceleration. These were all true meanings that only existed in legends. It would be too amazing if one could grasp them. During a battle, one side might have great strength and speed, but the other side could grasp the ability to stop time. There was no need for too much. As long as one could stop time for a moment, one could take advantage of this moment to kill the defenseless enemy. Thus, the gap between realms was a gap in essence. With just strength, one would only be easily trampled to death. Grade 3 true meanings: true meaning of space cleavage, true meaning of space destruction, space teleportation, shadow space. In short, any branch of the space type would usually have a grade 3 true meaning. There were also the true meaning of death, true meaning of destruction, true meaning of life, true meaning of gravity, true meaning of extreme Ying, true meaning of extreme yang, true meaning of wave. The upper 3 grades were all terrifying. Not to mention grade 1 or 2, just grasping a grade 3 true meaning would allow one to dominate the world. Out of these 8, there's one time-type true meaning that can break through to a grade 2 true meaning. Dongbo Shui thought, the other 7 are all trying to break through to a grade 3 true meaning. What about me? What do you mean I'm an exception? Currently, you can fuse the profound mysteries of water and fire. In the future, you will have the confidence to grasp a grade 4 true meaning of water and fire. The yellow-robed old man gone, you said. Grade 4. Dongbo Shui Ying was stunned. The others were all trying to break through to a grade 3 or 2 true meaning, but he was the only one at grade 4? The 8 of them only have some hope. The yellow-robed old man said, wanting to grasp a grade 3 true meaning or a grade 2 true meaning is too difficult. I estimate that only 2 or 3 of them will succeed. As for those who become demigods, we'll have to give them a discount. It's already not bad if one of them becomes a demigod. As long as there's a demigod who grasps a grade 3 true meaning, we'll have benefited greatly from our grooming. As for you, you have more than a 90% chance of grasping the true meaning of water and fire. The yellow-robed old man said, their chances are small, but yours are huge. Even though it's only a grade 4 true meaning, it's still not bad. Furthermore, you're still very young, and you have Elder Chao Qing's strong recommendation, which is why the vote was passed. He did not explain in detail. In reality, during the vote, 9 elders agreed and 6 opposed. The percentage of those who opposed was very high. Usually, when those with high talent were chosen, the vote would be passed easily. You're still very young. Who knows? You might be able to improve further in the future from the true meaning of water and fire to the true meaning of yin-yang. The yellow-robed old man gone, you said. True meanings were not unchangeable. They could definitely evolve. For example, the true meaning of gravity could definitely evolve and become a grade 1 true meaning of black hole. You're still young, which is also the reason why many elders agreed. Ganyu laughed. Let's go and meet your senior apprentice brothers and sisters. Flying in this world of mountains, Ganyu introduced, these mountains are known as the Scarlet Cloud Mountains, and this spatial world is also known as the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, because this clan-protecting deity weapon of the Infernal Palace was obtained by an ancestor of the Xia people, Emperor Scarlet Cloud, after entering the deity world. He thought of ways to send it back to his hometown. Emperor Scarlet Cloud. Dongbua Shui Ying secretly remembered. It was precisely because of the ancestors of the Xia people who did not forget their hometown after becoming deities, sending back deity weapons, that the Xia people had a strong enough foundation to completely suppress the beast race and those transcendent aboriginals. Who? It's right in front. Gong Yu pointed to a mountain in front. That mountain was incomparably beautiful, and there were many mountain springs. The mountain springs gurgled, and there was fog surrounding them. Besides some of the mountain springs, there were even bamboo houses. Your senior apprentice brothers and sisters are usually here, Gong Yu said. Brother Gong Yu. A voice rang out. The fog beside one of the mountain springs quickly dissipated, and there were 9 figures standing on the empty ground. The leader was a green-robed man who was as dazzling as the sun, standing with his hands behind his back. The formless pressure he emitted made everyone around him feel reverence. Faction head. Eastern European Snow Eagle immediately recognized him. He was the faction head of his Water Taoist faction, Si Kong Yang. Faction head Si Kong. Gong Yu bowed slightly. His posture was obviously one level lower. After all, Si Kong Yang was an existence that stood at the peak of the entire human race. Snow Eagle, stand over there. Si Kong Yang said. Yes. Dongbua Shui Ying immediately stood beside the 8 men and women obediently. He faintly understood that these 8 people were probably the other 8 transcendents that were being nurtured. From today onwards, our Scarlet Cloud Mountain has one more transcendent. Si Kong Yang said, I'm afraid all of you know him. He is the Dongbua Shui Ying who had just undergone a transcendent battle of life and death. Dongbua Shui Ying came the latest, and is your junior apprentice brother. In the next 100 years, or even longer, all of you will be cultivating together. I hope that all of you will cherish this brotherly relationship. In the future, if 2 or 3 of you are able to become powerful demigods of the Xia people, as your master, I will be very proud. End of this volume. Chapter 131. The reason why we call you all substitute doyens is because we hope that you all can become demigods. Si Kong Yang's formless pressure caused everyone to hold their breaths. We have taken out a large amount of resources to groom you all. Even if you all become saint experts, to us Xia people, is not worth mentioning. You must become demigods. Only then will you have the qualifications to be the backbone of us Xia people. But what disappointed me is that up till now, none of you have reached the 3rd level of realms of myriad existences. Dongbua Shui Ying muttered. Their realms don't seem to be high. But that's right. Different profound mysteries have different levels of difficulty. For example, water of myriad existences, wind of myriad existences, lightning of myriad existences, earth of myriad existences, etc. They're all relatively easy. But for profound mysteries of space, profound mysteries of life, etc., it is extremely difficult to reach the 1st level of realms of myriad existences. The moment one succeeds, the 1st level of profound mysteries of space would be even stronger than the 2nd level of profound mysteries of fire. Follow the old rules. Si Kong Yang said, Dongbua Shui Ying is a newcomer. Currently, he will be ranked in the middle, 5th position. The rest will move back 1 position. Based on the changes in your strength and realms, I will adjust the ranking accordingly. Ranking 5th position? Dongbua Shui Ying was slightly puzzled. Si Kong Yang glanced at Dongbua Shui Ying before adding another sentence. Those with high realms and potential will receive more resources. Those with low potential will naturally receive less resources. The distribution of resources will be done according to the ranking. Dongbua Shui Ying understood. The 9 transcendents who were being groomed would receive different resources. This made sense, as no one dared to slack off. I will occasionally come over to answer your questions regarding cultivation. Si Kong Yang said, usually, it is Brother Gongyu who is here. All right, you all should get to know each other. Brother Gongyu, I will make a move first. Si Kong Yang looked at the yellow-robed elder Gongyu. Monastery head Si Kong, leave this place to me. Gongyu smiled. Si Kong Yang was a powerful being who had condensed a true deity heart. It was already good enough for him to come and answer his questions once every 1.5 years. In fact, transcendents mostly relied on themselves and their cultivation. Demigods would at most occasionally give pointers. Who? Si Kong Yang took a step forward, and the golden light on the surface of his body surged. Then he disappeared into thin air. All right, now that monastery head Si Kong has left, everyone can relax. Gongyu smiled. You guys go familiarize yourselves first. Brother Dongbo, you're not just an ordinary person. You've even killed an abyssal demon and fought with a deity world warrior. We're all envious of you. A rather handsome tall man smiled and spoke first. My name is Sidu Hong, and I'm the oldest among us. Of course, I'm just 1 year older than junior brother Zhang, haha. A man with a mustache standing next to the other 2 men smiled and said, my name is Zhang Peng. Greetings, senior brother Situ, senior brother Zhang. Dongbua Shuang said, my name is Wen Yong, and greetings, junior brother Dongbua. A skinny young man said with a gentle voice. His smile seemed to be able to penetrate one's heart. Senior brother Wen. Dongbua Shuang said, my name is Du Ro Ro. The plump girl by the side shouted, brother Snow Eagle, come, come, come. Quickly call me big sister. Dongbua Shuang started to sweat. This senior sister, Du Ro Ro, should be the ugliest transcendent he had ever seen. Transcendents' bodies were reborn, and their skin would usually be very good. Once their skin was good, their looks wouldn't be too bad. However, firstly, senior sister Du Ro Ro was very fat. Secondly, her teeth weren't neat, and her hair was messy. Indeed, her looks were slightly worse. However, from a friend's point of view, senior sister Du Ro Ro seemed to be very forthright and didn't bother about trifles. She should be someone worth befriending. Senior sister, Dongbua Shuang said, why aren't you willing to call me big sister? Senior sister Du Ro Ro was still mumbling. Senior sister Du, junior brother Dongbua has just arrived. Don't scare him. A cheerful-looking young man with a big mouth chuckled. My name is Puyong Bo, and I specialize in teleportation. In the future, wherever you want to go, I will send you there. It will be very fast. Dongbua Shuang instantly had a good impression of this senior brother Puyong. My name is Yufeng. Beside Puyong Bo was a rather handsome young man. He should be the most handsome one among the few of them. Greetings, senior brother Puyong, senior brother Yu. Dongbua Shuang said, old man Wu, why aren't you saying anything? Puyong Bo grinned as he stared at a young man with wrinkles on his face. That young man's hair was slightly white. Junior brother Dongbua, old man Wu is younger than me. It's just that he is comprehending the profound mysteries of death, which makes him look like an old man. He is always silent and rarely speaks. However, he is a good person. Greetings, senior brother Wu. Dongbua Shuang said as well. The young man with white hair and wrinkles squeezed out a smile. It was a somewhat unfamiliar smile, as though he wasn't good at conversing with others. Dongbua Shuang sighed inwardly. Those who could comprehend the profound mysteries of death had an extraordinary personality. Haha, this is the last senior sister Zhua. Junior brother Dongbua, I'm afraid your heart has been itching for a long time. Puyong Bo introduced. Dongbua Shuang looked at the last girl. She had a pretty face and a good figure. She could be considered a beauty. However, she was only at the same level as Kong Yu. She was obviously not as beautiful as Yu Jing Xiao. However, this senior sister Zhua gave off an uncontrollable desire, causing others to want to possess her. This kind of attraction was an instinctive attraction. Out of 100 men, 99 would want to possess her. Dongbua Shuang's willpower could be considered quite outstanding. Furthermore, he wasn't a lustful person. However, he still couldn't help but feel excited. This made him feel that something was amiss. Junior brother Snow Eagle. Senior sister Zhua smiled. appearing rather polite. Senior Sister Joie. Donghua Shuang greeted. Pu Yongbo, who was standing by the side, immediately transmitted a message to Donghua Shui. Junior brother Donghua, don't be bewitched. Senior Sister Joie has awakened her primordial bloodline and possesses the extreme body. Not only did she comprehend the profound mysteries of extreme, this extreme body is extremely attractive to almost every man. Unless this man likes men. Extreme body? Donghua Shuang was shocked. He didn't waste any time in the Xia capital during the past half a year. He had also collected many books. Naturally, he knew about the extreme body. For a woman with the extreme body, especially when enjoying the pleasure of intimacy with a man for the first time, the extreme body would nourish the man's body and soul. Its effect was much better than some rare treasures, allowing the soul to undergo a transformation. Even if he drank this spiritual liquid from the stone of oceanic world for a few hundred years, he would still not be able to catch up to this transformation. Of course, the prerequisite was that the man's soul was comparable to the woman's. Otherwise, it would be extremely difficult for a man to undergo a transformation at the demigod level. That's why. There are many who want to woo Senior Sister Joie. Pu Yongbo transmitted. Donghua Shuang and the other 8 chatted for a while. They could be considered to have gotten to know each other. There are a total of 12 bamboo houses on this mountain. They are arranged from the highest to the lowest. Donghua Shuang, from today onwards, you will reside in the 5th bamboo house. Gong Yu said, there is a book with a simple introduction in the bamboo house. After you finish reading it, you will know some of the cultivation grounds in this Scarlet Cloud mountain world. All right. Everyone can disperse. Your junior brother Donghua isn't too familiar with this place. Gong Yu instructed. That's simple. In a while, we will bring junior brother around. Situ Hong laughed. Junior brother, go and rest first. When night falls, we will welcome you at the Xia capital's 7 Moons restaurant. Pu Yongbo shouted excitedly. After all, since they would be cultivating together in the future, everyone would be more courteous. Donghua Shuang soon arrived at his own bamboo house. The bamboo house was built on top of a mountain spring lake. The mountain spring gurgled, emitting steam and mist. Donghua Shuang walked on the water and arrived in front of the bamboo house. Surrounding the bamboo house was a small courtyard formed by bamboo railings. Pushing open the bamboo door, he entered the small courtyard. The courtyard was relatively clean. At the side, there was a jade pillar. On the jade pillar, there were 9 lines of words. Rank 1. Wen Yangan, Profound Mystery of Life, 2nd level, completed Underground Magma River Life or Death Mission. Rank 2. Du Ro Ro, Profound Mystery of Time, 1st level, completed Basic Mission. Rank 3. Sidu Hong, Profound Mystery of Space, 2nd level, completed Underground Magma River Life or Death Mission. Rank 4. Wu Tsang, Profound Mystery of Death, 2nd level, completed Underground Magma River, Life or Death Mission. Rank 5. Donghua Shuang, Profound Mystery of Water and Fire, 1st level, no mission. Rank 6. Zhui, Profound Mystery of Extreme Yin, 2nd level, completed Basic Mission. Rank 7. Zhang Peng, Profound Mystery of Space, 2nd level, completed Underground Magma River, Life or Death Mission. Rank 8. Yu Feng, Profound Mystery of Space, 2nd level, completed Basic Mission. Rank 9. Pu Yongbo, Profound Mystery of Space, 1st level, completed Basic Mission. Ranking? There's one in the courtyard of the bamboo house. Donghua Shuang laughed helplessly. It seems like the elders of the Xia people don't want us to slack off. It's just that this ranking, other than cultivation level and completion of the mission, are there other factors? Donghua Shuang still remembered Si Kong Yang's words. Those with higher cultivation levels and higher potential would have more resources. Those with lower cultivation levels and lower potential would have fewer resources. More emphasis on potential? Donghua Shuang vaguely understood that it was because of her potential that senior sister Du Ro Ro was ranked 2nd. Huh? Compared to them, it seems like I'm the weakest? Donghua Shuang laughed. Looks like my cultivation days in the future will be more interesting. To Dongbua Shuang, this ranking was just an entertainment. What he cared more about was his own improvement. Chapter 132. The small courtyard was very quiet. Dongbua Shuang entered the bamboo house. The bamboo house had 2 floors, and the lower floor was empty without any furniture. Looks like I have to decorate some tables and chairs myself. Dongbua Shuang laughed as he shook his head and followed the bamboo stairs to the upper floor. The upper floor was also empty, with windows on all 4 sides. On the floor, there was only one piece of furniture, a table. On the table was a book, and on it was a plate. On the plate, there was a small porcelain bottle, 2 red fruits, and a wine flask. Master Gong, you said that there would be a book with a simple introduction in the bamboo house. This should be it. Dongbua Shuang sat cross-legged in front of the table and picked up the book to read. The book was as he expected. It was about the general knowledge of cultivation in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Those who could enter the list of substitute elders were all heavily nurtured. The small porcelain bottle on the plate, the 2 red fruits, and the spirit liquid in the wine flask were all transcendent items that could be enjoyed once every 10 days. They were extremely beneficial to both the body and the soul. TSK, they are really generous. Dongbua Shuang also recognized these 3 transcendent items: a small bottle of dragon blood, 2 amber mist fruits, and a flask of 9 fruit spirit liquid. I can get them once every 10 days, so in a year they should be worth about 100 kilograms of origin stones. In 100 years, it would be 20,000 kilograms of origin stones. Looking at the introduction of the book, those who were chosen as substitute elders were all Sky Realm transcendents. Once they reached the Saint Realm, they would have to leave. This was because when one broke through to the Saint Realm, their soul would undergo another metamorphosis. Although dragon blood, amber mist fruit, 9 fruit spiritual liquid, and other rare treasures would still be beneficial to the body and soul, the benefits would be greatly reduced. After all, the stronger transcendent was, the weaker the help of these external items would be. Using so many treasures on a Saint Realm transcendent would be too ineffective. The rewards would not be worth it. In the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, I can only stay for 500 years, and once I reach the Saint Realm, I will have to leave. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself, I am currently ranked 5th. In 500 years, these treasures are worth 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. What if I am ranked 1st, and I haven't considered the other aspects? 50,000 kilograms of origin stone? Even a peak martial saint couldn't afford it. First, drink the dragon blood. An icy coldness entered his abdomen, followed by a blazing heat. The heat gradually spread to every part of his body, and he couldn't help but sweat. His soul was also nourished. Kacha! Kacha! Following that, he slowly ate the amber mist fruits and occasionally took a sip of the 9 fruits spiritual liquid from the wine flask. It was indeed very satisfying. The conditions to cultivate in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world are indeed very good. Dongbua Shuang smiled. My decision to go all out in the transcendent battle of life and death was indeed the right decision. The vast majority of transcendents had an extremely arduous path of cultivation. You want treasures? You want the secret technique? They had to accept some life and death missions and kill some transcendent natives who were unwilling to submit. Realm? Both of them used the world as their teacher, silently pondering and cultivating by themselves. In the world of transcendence, one usually did not have a master because no matter how good a master was, it could not compare to nature. For example, Gong Yu and Si Kong Yang would only occasionally give pointers to Dongbua Shuang and the rest, pointing out their problems and nothing more. In the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, the resources were very good, but their missions were also very dangerous. The life and death missions of ordinary transcendents in the outside world, to them, were considered basic missions. They still had to risk their lives on even more dangerous missions. Fortunately, all of them were extremely strong, and the profound mysteries they comprehended were extraordinary. Their survival abilities were also much stronger than ordinary transcendents. Amongst them, Dongbua Shui with the profound mysteries of water and fire could be considered to be the weakest. Time passed. To transcendents who used the world as their teacher, they would always feel that time passed very quickly, because occasionally they would ponder and comprehend for a few hours. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed since Dongbua Shui entered the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Midsummer. The Scarlet Cloud Mountain world was also blazing hot. Hoo-hoo. Two figures flew side by side in the mountains. Their auras were extraordinary, vast, and unfathomable. They were two powerful demigod existences. They were also the two demigods in charge of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Gong Yu and faction head Si Kongyang. In the past year, did that group of brats have any breakthroughs? Faction head Si Kongyang asked. No breakthroughs. It's still relatively peaceful. Gong Yu replied. No breakthroughs. Si Kongyang looked at him. Faction head Si Kong, you can't possibly let that group of brats have continuous surprises like last year, right? Gong Yu laughed. Last year was indeed the year when the Nine Sky Realm transcendents of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain made continuous breakthroughs, especially Du Ro Ro, who comprehended the profound mystery of time. She actually broke through to the second level. Immediately, she was ranked first. Profound mysteries related to time, even if it was a branch of the profound mysteries, were already very amazing. In the future, when she grasped hold of a true meaning, it would at least be a grade 2 true meaning. That was the legendary true meaning. In reality, the demigods of the Infernal Palace were only looking forward to it. They did not have much confidence in it. In an era, wanting to produce a powerful existence with a grade 2 true meaning was too difficult. Previously, when Du Ro Ro was only at the first level of realms of myriad existences, she was ranked second. From this, one could see how much importance the Xia people placed on her. After all, someone who could comprehend the profound mystery of time. It was fine if she did not succeed. But if she did, it would be very amazing. Now that she had grasped hold of the second level of realms of myriad existences, the elders of the Xia people became even more excited. They felt that their hopes had increased. Right, that Dongbua Shui encountered some problems. Gong Yu suddenly said. Dongbua Shui encountered some problems? Si Kongyang frowned. Didn't he perfectly fuse the profound mysteries of water and fire to the second level last year? He even completed the life and death mission of the underground magma river. He was very satisfied with Dongbua Shui. He was young and cultivated quickly. This year, he was only 39 years old. He was much younger than the other transcendents. Yet, he relied on this spear to sweep through the underground magma river. The underground magma river was a unique transcendent mission. It was extremely dangerous and difficult. The other transcendents that were being nurtured, although they had cultivated for a long time, not all of them were able to complete this terrifying transcendent mission. This proved that in terms of combat power, Dongbua Shui was ranked in the middle amongst the 9 transcendents. Because the profound mysteries of water and fire were perfectly fused, Si Kongyang immediately raised him to the second position. Only after Du Ro Ro broke through did Dongbua Shui drop to the third position. Currently, the top 3 were Du Ro Ro, Wen Yong, and Dongbua Shui. It's a small problem, Gong Yu said, but I'm a little worried. What problem? Si Kongyang asked. His comprehension of the profound mysteries of water and fire is indeed advancing at a tremendous pace. I even believe that he has the hope of condensing the true meaning of water and fire before he turns 100. His future is limitless. But half a year ago, he actually comprehended the profound mystery of wind in myriad existences. Gong Yu said, profound mystery of wind? Si Kongyang's expression changed slightly. Yes, the profound mystery of wind. Gong Yu nodded. His profound mystery of wind has reached the first level of realms of myriad existences. It's still considered weak, as he had just comprehended it. What is this Dongbua Shui doing? Si Kongyang was slightly angered. he is actually diverting his attention to research on other profound mysteries? Is he thinking that his cultivation speed is too fast? During cultivation, this point of comprehension, was a huge taboo. I also told him that he had just comprehended it and wouldn't be affected much. I asked him to temporarily give up on the profound mystery of wind and let him focus on the profound mystery of water and fire. Gong Yu said, "Amen. His talent is very high. I hope he doesn't stray from the path. Let's go and see how much these 9 brats have improved." Si Kong Yang said. He would come once every year, and every time he came, he would give pointers to these sky realm transcendents. Hoo-hoo. The 2 of them rapidly flew towards the Bamboo House Mountain. Chapter 133. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, Soaring Clouds Peak. A black-robed youth was sitting on a rock, leaning on it, drinking wine as he overlooked the boundless mountains. He really liked this place because it was high enough to overlook countless mountains. Dongbua Shuang, who had lived in Snora Castle since he was young, loved the feeling of overlooking the vast world. And Soaring Clouds Peak was even higher, and it was also very quiet. He would not be disturbed while practicing his spear arts here. At night, he would look at the moon from the Soaring Clouds Peak, watching the moonlight illuminate the entire Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. During the day, he could also see the clouds in between the mountains. It was indeed very beautiful. When he was young, Dongbua Shuang rarely drank. But the older he got, the more he drank. Every time he studied his spear arts, comprehended the nature of heaven and earth, he would be filled with joy. But when he had no one to share his joy with, he would drink to his heart's content. The path of a transcendence cultivation had always been lonely. Of course, even though cultivation was lonely, emotions were not necessarily lonely. I really did not expect that the strongest cultivator in our family was actually my father. Dongbua Shuang shook his head and laughed. After completing the 10 life and death missions, he would often return home. Usually, he would also use the communication wristband to communicate. Mother and brother, as I expected, have always been stuck at the Silver Moon Mage rank. Uncle Tong drank the spiritual liquid from the stone of Oceanic World for more than 6 years and finally stepped into the meteor rank. But Uncle Zong's cultivation speed actually could not catch up to my father's. Among his relatives, let him choose who would be the first to become a legend ranker. Dongbua Shuang felt that it would be Uncle Zong. But the truth was, not long ago, his father, Dongbua Lai, had actually stepped into the legend rank and was the only legend ranker in the Dongbua family. When I saved my father, he was still a heaven rank knight. Dongbua Shuang sighed. His cultivation talent was rather high. It was also inherited from his parents. From this point, it could be seen that his father's talent was also very high. Thinking about it carefully, when his father was young, he did not have the opportunity to learn any Do-Chi techniques. It was only after he grew up and joined the army that he started learning Do-Chi techniques that were inferior to his own. Old age, learning Do-Chi late, poor Do-Chi techniques. He was still a heaven-ranked knight. Uncle Zong was a member of the royal family of the Naga race. He had been cultivating since he was young, and he was also a heaven-ranked knight. It was just that the 6-armed Naga was special, which made him stronger than his father. From this point of view, his father should be very talented. Later on, he was captured for 20 years, and his cultivation was interrupted for 20 years. Later on, he saved his parents and was provided with a large amount of spiritual liquid from the stone of Oceanic World. His other conditions, as well as his battle chi, were all top-notch in the mortal world. For a transcendent, it was too easy to provide the best conditions for his family. It was normal for his father's cultivation to improve by leaps and bounds. Father, mother, Uncle Zong, and Uncle Tong. Who knows? Maybe my father is the most talented among them. It's just that he hasn't had the chance to do so. Dongbua Shuang smiled and stood up. He stretched out his hand, and the black dragon spear appeared in his grasp. Boom! The spear immediately began to move. Rumble, Dongbua Shuang's spear arts began to move. Regardless of whether it was a furious slash or a straight stab, the sound produced by the spear was very loud. It was like a surging thunderstorm, vast and mighty, crushing everything in its path. The spear was even intertwined with fire and water. Vaguely, there were even gusts of wind that intertwined with the fire and water, causing the might of the entire spear art to increase greatly. This is the spear art that I want. This spear art is much stronger than the pure, profound mysteries of water and fire. Dongbo Shueing was filled with joy. Ever since he had successfully fused the profound mysteries of water and fire together last year, the profound mysteries of water and fire had become one. Back then, the killer move, Water and Fire Flood Dragon Kill, was based on the profound mystery of water before it was perfectly converted into the profound mystery of fire. In reality, the two were in the same process of fusion. It could only be considered as a preliminary fusion. But last year, the two profound mysteries had truly fused together. The rotation of the water caused the flames to explode even more violently. The flames exploded even more violently, causing the rotation of the water to become even stronger. The two complemented each other, and there was a qualitative transformation. Just a casual smash or slash would have immense power. Although the profound mysteries of water and fire were perfectly fused together, Dongbua Shueing gradually discovered flaw. It's too monotonous. Water and fire. These two energies are too monotonous. There's a lack of spirituality, variations, and layers. Furthermore, the transitions between each spear art is too stiff. Dongbua Shueing felt that there was a problem with his spear art. For example, when he executed the Flood Dragon Kill, its might was incomparably ferocious, after which he would borrow the power of the profound mystery of water to switch to the next move. It might seem very smooth, but Dongbua Shueing felt that it was too stiff. Half a year ago, Dongbua Shueing had comprehended the first level of the profound mystery of wind. The profound mystery of wind had the spirituality and variations that he wanted. If he could completely fuse the profound mystery of wind into the profound mystery of water and fire, the might of his spear art would definitely increase greatly. Right now, my spear techniques are truly unpredictable and have endless power. Dongbua Shueing was extremely pleased with himself. Boom! The spear stabbed out ferociously. Boom, boom, boom. He stabbed out 3 times in a row, each spear stronger than the last. Why was that? It was because Dongbua Shueing channeled the power of the first spear into the second move, and then into the third move. As a result, each move was stronger than the last. Of course, he could only do it 3 times in a row, each spear stronger than the last. Rumble, Dongbua Shueing's spear changed unpredictably. Slash, sweep, whip, smash, flick. All sorts of moves were extremely fast, and the power behind them was extremely strong. This was because the power of the other moves were channeled over and stacked onto the second move. My original spear art was too vulgar. It wasn't flexible and natural enough. Dongbua Shueing revealed a smile. But now it's much stronger. The wind increased the intensity of the fire, causing it to become even more ferocious. The wind increased the intensity of the water, causing the water to surge even more violently. And the power of water and fire also caused the wind to become stronger. The 3 of them stacked on top of each other, complementing each other. Not long ago, Dongbua Shueing had successfully infused the profound mystery of wind into his spear art. This caused Dongbua Shueing's spear art to have a qualitative change compared to a year ago. Even though Master Gongyu told him not to be distracted, Dongbua Shueing felt that this way his spear art would be more perfect. He had been training in spear arts since young, in order to pursue perfection in spear arts. Dongbua Shueing, quickly come to Bamboo House Mountain. Monastery head Si Kong will be here soon. Gongyu's message was immediately received through his communication wristband. Monastery head? Dongbua Shueing did not dare to be negligent. At the same time, he was overjoyed. When the time comes, I can request for Monastery head to give me some pointers on my spear art. The Monastery head only came once every year. This was a rare opportunity. So, Dongbua Shuang immediately turned into a ray of light and flew towards Bamboo House Mountain. At the same time, the other 8 transcendents also received Gong Yu's message. Some of them were still in the Xia capital, so they hurried over. After a moment, on a large empty space halfway up Bamboo House Mountain, Dongbua, Shuang, and the other 8 transcendents turned into rays of light and descended. Puyangbo was the last to arrive. Phew, that gave me a scare. I was still accompanying a beauty just now. I could only shake her off and rush over. Puyangbo had a look of lingering fear. Luckily, I'm not late. Yufeng said, "What beauty? You actually didn't tell me." A transcendent female knight. She's very hot. Even I can't beat her. Puyangbo chuckled. I can only rely on teleportation to escape. However, I feel that she's interested in me. Must you stare at female transcendents to choose your wife? Dongbua Shuang teased. How many have you tried already? Among the group of transcendents, only Puyangbo kept shouting that he wanted to find a wife. Furthermore, the wife he pursued was a beautiful female transcendent. Unfortunately, he failed every single time. Little brother Dongbua, can you not poke at my scars? Puyangbo glared. He was a clown. In terms of strength, he was the weakest among the 9. Monastery head Si Kong is here. Dongbua Shuang and the other 8 quietened down. They raised their heads and looked into the distance. 2 figures were flying side by side. They were monastery head Si Kong and Gong Yu. Chapter 134. Hong Hong. 2 figures descended from the sky. When they touched the ground, they were extremely gentle. However, the powerful aura belonging to a half-god caused Dongbua, Shuang, and the rest to feel suffocated. Gong Yu was still all right as his aura was more reserved. As for faction head Si Kong Yang, he was as dazzling as the sun. No one dared to look him in the eye. He was like a god, transcendent and tyrannical. That's right. After all, he was a terrifying existence that had condensed a true deity heart. Once a true deity heart was formed, it was equivalent to having half a foot into the realm of God. In the entire world, including the transcendent aboriginals and the beast race, there were only 4 who had condensed a true deity heart. Si Kong Yang was one of them. It's been a year since we last met. Today, I'm here to take a look at your cultivation gains. Si Kong Yang's cold eyes swept across the 9 sky realm transcendents in front of him. Same old rules, one by one. Puyangbo, you go first. Yes, Puyangbo replied respectfully. It was rare for Si Kong Yang to come. After he came, he would give pointers according to their strength. He would start from the last. Puyangbo was obviously ranked last for a long time. Si Kong Yang was also rather dissatisfied with him. Your perception is not bad. However, you are too lazy and don't pay attention to cultivation. You often hang out in taverns and restaurants. Si Kong Yang said coldly. I hope you can give me a pleasant surprise this time. Puyangbo felt an invisible pressure. He was talented, but he had been undisciplined in his cultivation since young. Eating, drinking, playing, and being merry made him improve faster. If he really buried his head in cultivation, he would go crazy. Being ranked last for a long time made him feel unreconciled and ashamed. After all, he was also a genius in the past and was ranked in the top 10 of the Dragon Mountain book. It was just that after a long time, he had gotten used to it. If he fell behind, then so be it. At most, he would be kicked out of the substitute elder list. In reality, without special circumstances, it was impossible to be kicked out. At most, he would be ranked last and receive the least amount of resources. Yes, Puyangbo took a deep breath. Saber Master. Si Kong Yang suddenly spoke. His voice reverberated throughout the world. Whoosh! Suddenly, a golden light shot out from the back of Bamboo House Mountain and appeared in the air beside it. It was a golden-haired man with 2 sabers on his back. There were patterns on his forehead, and there were also mysterious patterns on his exposed arms. Headmaster, the golden-haired man said respectfully. Come and spar with Puyangbo, Si Kong Yang instructed. Xia people, other than the beast race, rarely had golden hair. This golden-haired man was not a real human. He was a flesh warrior created by the ancestors of the Xia people after studying the deity warrior. The flesh warriors were special embryos of flesh and blood. After cultivation, they would naturally give birth to souls. However, their bodies were born with extraordinary bodies. As long as they reached adulthood, they would reach the most perfect state and be able to display the power of a sky rank or a saint rank. As for the soul, their souls were incomplete, which was why it was hard for them to go far on the path of cultivation. However, because they had near-eternal lifespans, they would usually be able to reach perfection in their techniques and reach the level of a grandmaster. Very few could reach the realm of myriad existences. As for true meaning, even with near-eternal lifespans, the number of flesh warriors in the history of the Xia people who could grasp true meaning could be counted on one's fingers. Dongwu Ying and the rest who were being groomed had a group of sparring partners. They were 13 flesh warriors. All of them were at the peak of the saint rank and had reached the realm of myriad existences. They were considered one of the strongest flesh warriors of the Xia people. They used different weapons. Based on the weapons they used, Dongwu Ying and the rest would usually call these flesh warriors saber master, sword master, spear master, poison stinger master, etc. Yes, headmaster, the golden-haired man replied. He then unsheathed the two sabers on his back. He held a saber in each hand and stood in midair. Looking at the distant Puyang bow, he revealed a smile. Kid, come here. Saber master, be careful. Puyang bow took a step forward. Shua. His figure disappeared and reappeared behind the golden-haired man. He waved the saber in his right hand towards the golden-haired man. The saber light was like a ghost. Dang. The golden-haired man casually used his saber to block behind him, blocking Puyang Bo's sinister saber. Puyang Bo was sent flying backwards before disappearing once again. Shwa shwa shwa. Puyang Bo's figure flickered everywhere, attacking again and again. Hit! Puyang Bo's eyes were filled with excitement. He stabbed out with his saber. The tip of the saber arced through the air, creating spatial ripples. The golden-haired man wanted to block it, but his expression suddenly changed, because the saber in Puyang Bo's hand seemed to have sunk into water, disappearing within the spatial ripples. The golden-haired man hurriedly retreated. Following the appearance of the spatial ripples, the saber had already reached the golden-haired man's neck. Dang! The golden-haired man was prepared and blocked Puyang Bo's saber. Si Kong Yang, who was watching from afar, nodded his head. Puyang Bo's figure constantly teleported, his saber also able to pierce through the void. Dongwu was shocked as he watched. The profound mystery of space was indeed frightening. If Puyang Bo wanted to escape, even he would not be able to catch up. Furthermore, the saber light that contained the profound mystery of space was extremely powerful. For a mortal like Xiang Pengyun, facing Puyang Bo, even if there were 100 or 1,000 of him, they would all be sliced apart like tofu in a few breaths' time. And this was merely the initial stage of grasping the profound mystery of space. It was no wonder that even the true meaning of space was evaluated as a grade 3 true meaning. South Puyang Bo's figure flickered, returning to the side of Dongwu Ying and the others. Your saber techniques have improved, Si Kong Yang said indifferently. I thought that you only knew how to teleport. You finally know how to use the profound mystery of space on your saber techniques. Puyang Bo felt ashamed. In the past, he only knew how to dodge. In terms of teleportation, he was the strongest among the 9, but his combat power was the weakest. Recently, he had stepped into the second level of realms of myriad existences and was gradually able to use the profound mystery of space on his saber techniques. Try to use the profound mystery of space on your saber techniques. You are, after all, at the second level of realms of myriad existences. Hurry up and pass the underground magma river mission. Dongwu Ying is only 39 years old, and he has already passed it. Don't you feel ashamed? Si Kong Yang said. Yes. Puyang Bo obediently replied. Next, Yufeng. Si Kong Yang said. Another flesh warrior was summoned. Yufeng was ranked 8th, but he was more threatening than Pu Yongbo. His profound mystery of space, or more accurately, the profound mystery of shadow space, allowed his entire being to blend into the shadow space. When he battled with others, he would completely disappear. Occasionally, a weapon would suddenly appear, mysteriously attacking the enemy. If the attack failed, the weapon would immediately return to the shadow space. After that, it would be the next sneak attack. To be honest, even though his combat power was not that strong, most of Dongbo Shui, Ying, and the others were not willing to become enemies with Yufeng, because he was hiding within the shadow space. Every time, he would stab out with his thin sword. It was extremely treacherous. Fortunately, his combat power was still weak, and he could not stay in the shadow space for too long. Rank 7th was Zhang Peng. Even though he also comprehended the profound mystery of space, he walked the path of direct combat. He used an axe, 2 axes that were as thin as a cicada's wings. When he swung them, they were extremely fast. Moreover, the axes actually contained sharp blades formed from spatial ripples. This was an extremely sharp and frightening space edge. If Qiu Qi Bai's true meaning of space cleavage was a combination of the profound mystery of wind and the profound mystery of space, then it would form an extremely ferocious space cleavage. Zhang Peng's space edge was a sharp blade formed purely from spatial ripples. Its power was extremely great. One by one, they attacked. Just like Wu Cang's profound mystery of death, his entire being would be bathed in the aura of death. This aura of death, even Dongbo, Shui Ying, and the others did not dare to touch it with their bodies. For example, the moment their fingers touched it, it would rapidly rot, and they would have to immediately cut off their arms. Once the aura of death pervaded the air, they would undoubtedly die. These profound mysteries that could help one become a grade 3 true meaning in the future were already extremely frightening. Of course, the most frightening was still Du Ro's profound mystery of time. It was just that she was currently ranked first and would only appear last. Now, it was the 4th-ranked Situ Hong's turn. Situ Hong's battle style was the most tyrannical and ferocious. Every single attack of his seemed to shatter space. Situ Hong, Si Kong Yang coldly said, "You are the oldest, yet you have yet to step into the 3rd level of realms of myriad existences. You have really disappointed me. You have been stuck at this bottleneck for close to 100 years, right? I will definitely work hard." Situ Hong replied. Amen. Si Kong Yang did not say much. He would give detailed pointers to those he liked, but he was too lazy to say much to others. He originally had high expectations for Situ Hong. After all, out of the 4 who grasped the profound mystery of space, Situ Hong had the highest talent. It was just that Situ Hong had been stuck at this bottleneck for too long. If this continued, Si Kong Yang's ranking would continue to drop. Zhang Peng, who was around the same age as Situ Hong, might not have much talent and was slow-witted, but he was probably close to the bottleneck of the 2nd level of realms of myriad existences. In a while, I will raise this brat Zhang Peng's ranking. Si Kong Yang thought to himself. Next, Si Kong Yang's gaze landed on Dongbo Shuang. With a slight smile on his face, Dongbo Shuang. He was slightly biased towards Dongbo Shuang. Firstly, his improvement was really fast. Within 100 years, he might be able to condense the true meaning of water and fire. Secondly, he was a transcendent from his water Taoist faction. Back then, it was also because of Chao Qing's push and his help that Dongbo Shuang was able to become a substitute elder. Chapter 135. In midair, a black-robed teenager and a red-haired muscular man, surrounded by flames, were facing each other. Master Hammer. Dongbo Shuang respectfully greeted. Brat, be careful. The red-haired muscular man held a huge hammer in each of his hands. Halfway up the Bamboo House Mountain, Si Kong Yang, Gong Yu, and the other 8 transcendents were watching. In their eyes, Dongbo Shuang was a genius who improved at an extremely fast pace. He had only entered the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world for 10 years, yet his combat power was already in the middle amongst them. Furthermore, it would not be long before his profound mysteries of water and fire reached the third level. At that time, his combat power would most likely be at the peak. Condensing the true meaning of water and fire would also be very fast. Even though the true meaning of water and fire was a grade 4 true meaning, which was lower than the grade 3 and grade 2 true meanings others were aiming for, the chances of others grasping a true meaning were very low, with only 2 or 3 of them barely succeeding. Dongbua Shuiying, on the other hand, had almost a 100% chance of succeeding. 10 birds in a forest were not as good as a single bird in the hand. These 8 transcendents were actually quite envious of Dongbua Shuiying. He had grasped the true meaning of water and fire after cultivating for 100 years. He should be able to become a demigod within 1,000 years. A smooth path to become a demigod. Even though a grade 4 true meaning was slightly weaker among the current demigods, only Elder Aolon from the beast race had a grade 3 true meaning. If he could become a demigod with a grade 4 true meaning, he would have a chance of being ranked in the top few demigods in the future. This was already a very bright and dazzling path for transcendence. For example, his senior sister, Yi, who had always maintained a distance from any male, had many pursuers due to her extreme body. Even Sidu Hong and Zhang Peng, who were also in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain, were pursuing her, but she ignored them all. However, she was closer to Dongbua Shuiying. Even though it was not to the extent of pursuing Dongbua Shuiying, that intimate attitude of hers was something she had never shown to other males. This made Situ Hong and the others jealous, but no matter how jealous they were, they could only endure. This was because they were not willing to become enemies with an almighty transcendent who was destined to have monstrous strength in the future. Junior Apprentice Brother 1. Junior Apprentice Brother Dong bow spear arts seemed to have improved. Shui quietly transmitted her voice to Wen Yangon, who was beside her. He's different from the last time. Wen Yangon nodded gently. He had mastered life, power Upanishad, so he treated everyone well. The spear danced in the air, stabbing out again and again as fast as lightning. It was as if flood dragons were flying out and bombarding the red-haired brawny man. The red-haired man wielded a pair of hammers to block the attacks. So strange, so fierce. The red-haired brawny man was having a hard time dealing with it. That was because the spear was spinning and stabbing towards him, and each stab was actually heavier than the last. Moreover, every spear was erratic, as if it was drifting with the wind. This kind of erratic feeling made the red-haired brawny man very uncomfortable. After all, Dongbua Shuiying's spear technique was extremely strange and ferocious, and now it was erratic. Boom! Dongbua Shuiying circulated his peak-grade Battle Chi secret art, Fire Calamity 7 stars, combining his battle chi with his physical strength, making his every move even more ferocious. In the past 10 years, Dongbua Shuiying had relied on origin stones to cultivate. His battle chi had also reached the peak of Sky Realm. His body had also reached the peak of Sky Realm long ago. Currently, it would be difficult for his body and battle chi to break through in a short period of time. Other than his cultivation realm, he also needed to accumulate enough transcendent battle chi to break through his battle chi. His body needed an astonishing 50,000 kilograms of origin stones to break through to the Saint Primary phase. Dongbua Shuiying had only obtained 5,000 contribution points during the transcendent battle of life and death previously. The difference was too great. Ho ho ho! Dongbua Shuiying's spear flew up and down, attacking recklessly. Like a raging gale, like a surging wave, move after move, the power of each move was channeled into the next, causing Dongbua Shuiying's moves to be incomparably smooth and powerful. Strange, ferocious, erratic, everything was fused into his attacks. Brat, you're much stronger than before. The red-haired, brawny man fought back in a somewhat pathetic manner. He could only rely on his great strength and speed, as well as his pair of hammers that were large enough to be used as shields to block the attacks. If he were to use a sword or saber-type weapon, he would have been pierced by Dongbua Shuiying's spear long ago. But compared to Master Hammer, there's still a gap. Dongbua Shui fought to his heart's content. He had also made a breakthrough in his spear technique. So naturally, he was fighting to his heart's content. Powerful, powerful. Wen Yong and Dururu, Sidu Hong, Zhang Peng, Yu Feng, Wu Cong, and the rest who were watching the battle were all astonished. His spear technique has become even more powerful. It's obvious that he's much more powerful than before. I'm afraid that among us, only senior sister Du has the confidence to win against him. The rest of us don't have the confidence. That's right, his close combat skills have become even more terrifying. All of them knew their own limits. They could tell that Dongbua Shui Ying's strength had increased tremendously. He was probably only second to Du Ru, who had comprehended the second level of the profound of time. The rest of them could only rely on their own methods to not be defeated. When it came to close combat, even Sidu Hong, who was extremely strong in close combat, would only barely be able to fight evenly with Dongbua Shui. One must know that Situ Hong was the oldest among them. How long had he been cultivating? Following the exchange of blows, Dongbua Shui rapidly retreated. Master Hammer is powerful. Seems like if I want to win against him, I'll have to cultivate more. Dongbua Shui smiled as he stood in midair. The red-haired brawny man stood in midair and nodded his head. You're very powerful. In a few more days, I'm afraid I won't be able to defend against you. Come back. An angry voice rang out. Dongbua Shui turned his head and saw that the yellow-robed old man, Master Gongyu, had an ugly expression on his face. Faction head Si Kong Yang also had a cold expression on his face. Not good. The two demigod masters seemed to be unhappy. Dongbua Shui felt a knot in his heart. He immediately turned into a ray of light and flew back to the mountain waste. Dongbua Shui, the yellow-robed old man, Gongyu, was so angry that his face was flushed red. He stared at Dongbua Shui and roared. Who gave you the guts? Who allowed you to be so impudent? Dongbua Shui was stunned. The other transcendents were stunned as well. Faction head Si Kong Yang continued to watch coldly by the side. I told you the last time. The yellow-robed old man, Gongyu shouted, since you want to focus on the profound mystery of water and fire, then focus on studying it. Put aside the profound mystery of wind. Did I tell you? You did. Dongbua Shui replied. The last time, Master Gongyu advised him with kind words. On the path of cultivation, it was a taboo to be distracted. After all, the energy of a transcendent was limited, and his lifespan was limited as well. It was because Dongbua Shui was still very young that he diverted his attention to cultivate the profound mystery of wind. Thus, Master Gongyu reprimanded him. After all, to Dongbua Shui, delaying a bit of time was nothing much, because he still had a long time to cultivate. But you are actually so impudent, so daring. The yellow-robed old man, Gongyu, was so angry that he was about to go crazy. He roared angrily. You actually merged the profound mystery of wind into the profound mystery of water and fire? Who allowed you to be so reckless? His roar caused the surrounding space to freeze, directly pressing down on Dongbua Shui body. Dongbua Shui felt his body being pressured. His organs trembled, and he felt a sweetness in his throat. Fresh blood flowed into his mouth. Dongbua Shui did not care about such minor injuries, but he was a little fearful. Because for so many years, Master Gong, you had always been a good person. His attitude towards them had always been good, and he had never been so angry before. Even for the lazy Puyang Bo, Master Gong, you only said it simply. Chapter 136. What? Du Vu, Wen Yong, and Yu Feng and the rest of the Transcendents looked at Dongbua Shui in shock. He actually dared to act so recklessly. After all, they cultivated the profound mysteries of space and life. They were not proficient in the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind. Hence, even though Dongbua Shui Ying's spear arts were ferocious and strange, they did not notice that. Dongbua Shuang had already merged the profound mysteries of wind and fire into the profound mysteries of water and fire. The three had completely merged and complemented each other as though they were one. Dongbua Shuang, tell me. Faction head, Si Kong Yang spoke. His expression was as cold as usual. How dare you do this? Don't you know the common sense of cultivation? I know. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The path of cultivation is filled with difficulties. Most transcendents stop at the sky rank. Those who can step into the saint rank are few and far between. Those who can step into the demigod rank are even rarer. Si Kong Yang looked at Dongbua Shuang and said coldly, "Your innate talent is extremely high. At such a young age, you were able to fuse the profound mysteries of water and fire. Furthermore, you were able to reach the second level so easily. If this goes on, you will be able to grasp the true meaning of water and fire within 100 years. Even if your cultivation is slower, you will definitely be able to reach the saint rank within 200 years. A transcendent saint rank expert has a lifespan of 1,500 years. Within 200 years, you will be able to grasp the true meaning of water and fire. If you continue to cultivate, your true meaning of water and fire will continue to improve. Within 1,000 years, you will be able to step into the demigod rank. You have a bright future ahead of you. Our Xia people will have another demigod. We are all filled with expectations for you." Faction head Si Kong Yang's eyes shone with coldness. "But you, what have you done? You are destroying your own future. Don't you know? On the path of cultivation, once you take a wrong step, it will be hard to turn back." Si Kong Yang roared. His heart was filled with anger, disbelief, pain, and many other emotions. The other transcendents were watching from the side. They also thought that Dongbua Shuang had gone mad. The profound mysteries of water and fire. If you continue cultivating it, you will be able to reach the true meaning of water and fire. Si Kong Yang said angrily. But now, you have fused the profound mysteries of wind into it. Water, fire, wind? What the hell were these three? Are you sure this path isn't a dead end? You may be young, but if you discover that you have strayed from the right path in the future, do you think you can still turn back and comprehend the profound mysteries of water and fire? A blank sheet of paper is the best place to draw. On a piece of paper that was already filled with colors, it was very difficult to modify it. It was the same principle. Dongbua Shuang had cultivated the profound mysteries of water and fire very well. Now, infuse the profound mystery of wind into it. Moreover, it had completely fused together. Even if Dongbua Shuang decided to give up on the profound mystery of wind in the future, he would never forget it. His understanding of nature had reached a new level, and it was very difficult for him to go back to his original level. Towards the understanding of nature, it wasn't something that could be easily forgotten. "I know," Dongbua Shuang said, "but during my cultivation, I discovered that the profound mysteries of water and fire aren't perfect. So you switched to cultivating the profound mystery of wind, and even fused with it?" Si Kong Yang asked. "What were you thinking?" He really didn't understand. He was clearly a genius, so how could he make such a fatal mistake? The Infernal Palace had given some books to every transcendent regarding cultivation. All transcendents knew about it. Don't tell me you don't understand that the path of cultivation has always been difficult. The heavens and earth are naturally unfathomable. Choose a direction and advance in that direction. That way, your chances of success will be higher. Si Kong Yang couldn't understand. But what about you? The profound mysteries of water and fire are obviously very good. Why did you set your eyes on the profound mystery of wind and even fuse it in? Water, fire, and wind? In the entire history of the Xia people, there hasn't been anyone who cultivated these three profound mysteries to great heights. Let history be a lesson. According to what he was good at, he had to choose a true intent that the experts in the history of the Xia people had succeeded in. Then, he would advance step by step. If the direction was right, then his chances of success will be higher. If they lowered their heads and immersed themselves in cultivation, cultivating here and there, it would be a complete mess. Perhaps a heaven-defying genius would occasionally appear, but out of 1,000 transcendents, 999 would fail in the end. Tell me, what is the direction of your cultivation? Kong Yang stared at Dongbua Shuang. In the history of the Xia people, there are so many ancestors who comprehended so many true intents. Which true intent have you chosen as your goal? Purgatory Knight, Jelly. Dongbua Shuang suddenly said. Heavenly Wind Emperor, Yuan Shan. Purple Thunder Emperor, Yao Qingtian. 3 people were mentioned consecutively. All of them were outstanding figures in history. 2 of them had become deities, and one of them was the strongest demigod in the history of the Xia people. What nonsense are you spouting? Kong Yang angrily shouted. Purgatory Knight, Jie Li, comprehended the true intent of purgatory, a true intent related to destructive flames. As for Heavenly Wind Emperor Yuan Shan, he comprehended the true intent of heavenly wind, a true intent formed from the fusion of wind and space. Back then, the Purple Thunder Emperor had comprehended the Purple Thunder true intent, a combination of the thunder and life true intent. All 3 of them have comprehended grade 3 true intents, and they are completely different from you. Destructive flames, wind and space, lightning and life, Dongbua Shuang comprehended water, fire, and wind. They were completely different. Senior Purgatory Knight, Jelly. Dongbua Shuang said. He swore that he would incinerate and destroy all evil beings in the world. He pursued the ultimate destruction, and finally comprehended the destructive flames, the true intent of purgatory. Dongbua Shuang said. Heavenly Wind Emperor roamed the world freely. He did not like to fight and loved to roam the world freely. Wind was free, and space was everywhere, and he comprehended the true intent of heavenly wind. The Purple Thunder Emperor was a healer. Even though he had awakened the lightning primordial bloodline, he was still able to use lightning to save lives, and he even comprehended the mysterious true intent of Purple Thunder. Kong Yang looked at him. He knew all these as well. In the history of the Xia people, there were some existences who became deities. Most transcendents would read through these scrolls. Jieli was the one who had the most transcendent battles of life and death. He was also rumored to be the strongest demigod. What are you trying to say? Kong Yang looked at him. They did not deliberately pursue any true intent. Dongbua Su Mingyang said. Senior Jieli never knew of the true intent of destructive flames. Heavenly Wind Emperor was also free and unfettered, never deliberately cultivating. The Purple Thunder Emperor was even more focused on saving lives. Before him, no one was able to fuse the destructive lightning with life. The true intent of Purple Thunder was created by him. The 3 of them did not purposely pursue any true intent. It's the same for me. Dongbua Shuiying's eyes flickered with radiance. Ever since I was young, I have been pursuing the pinnacle of spear arts. I felt that my spear arts were too rigid and easy to break. Thus, I comprehended the profound mystery of water. The fusion of the profound mystery of water and profound mystery of fire. I felt that my spear arts lacked agility, variations, and layers. Thus, I comprehended the profound mystery of wind and fused it into my spear arts. I have never purposely pursued the true intent of fire and water. What I pursue is the pinnacle of spear arts. As for true intent, in the future, whatever true intent I can achieve, it will be that true intent. The path of transcendence is a difficult path. It is precisely because of my passion for it that I am able to fearlessly move forward. Dongbua Shuang said. If I were to use the true intent of fire and water as my goal, becoming stronger for the sake of becoming stronger, cultivating for the sake of cultivation, I would feel that such days are a form of torture. Dongbua Shuang voiced out his thoughts. Foolish, insolent, arrogant. Kong Yang was truly enraged. Under his rage, the pressure he emitted enveloped everyone. Do you think that you are so amazing? Just because of the pursuit in your heart, You would disregard everything and cultivate as you please? That's right, the heavenly wind emperor became a god, just because he casually cultivated. The purple thunder emperor also became a god, because he wholeheartedly saved people. But how many of these people are there? You only see those who succeed, but you don't see those who fail. As for the majority of experts, they become demigods or gods. All of them have a direction, and they would advance in that direction. Only then would they be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Now that you have fused the profound mystery of wind into the profound mystery of fire and water, you have already destroyed your own path. Yang felt a slight heartache. Among the 9, he favored Dongbua Shui-ing the most, because Dongbua Shui-ing had a high chance of becoming a demigod in the future. A demigod with a grade 4 true meaning was still very powerful. In the future, he felt that Dongbua Shui-ing had a high chance of inheriting his position and becoming the next Water Daoist faction head. But now, that smooth path of the true intent of water and fire had been destroyed by Dongbua Shui-ing. How could he not feel heartache and anger? Compared to Gongyu, he was even angrier. Old brother Chao Qing pushed hard for you to become a substitute elder, allowing you to come to this scarlet cloud mountain world. Yang was furious and pained, but you have failed to live up to old brother Chao Qing's expectations. If I knew that you were so foolish and arrogant, I would not have allowed you to enter the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. Chapter 137. Everyone at the side kept quiet out of fear. No one would have expected that the overlord who stood at the peak of the world, faction head Yang, would be so furious. From their point of view, even if a genius destroyed his own future, to the entire Xia people, it was just a small matter. Because there were many more geniuses. There was no need for faction head Yang to lose his composure. From today onwards, I will often stay in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain World. Yang shouted angrily. I will help you set a new direction for cultivation. Follow the direction I set for you, and cultivate steadily. Can you do it? Gongyu looked at Yang in shock. Dororo, Wenyong, and Sidu Hong, Zhu Yi, and the rest were also shocked. This Dongbua Shui-ing had already destroyed his true meaning of water and fire. But faction head Yang still hadn't given up on him. Dongbua Shui-ing felt warmth in his heart. Faction head Dongbua Shui-ing said respectfully, I can't do it. You. Yang was incomparably furious and disappointed. Dongbua Shui-ing had destroyed his own future, but Yang had always favored Dongbua Shui-ing for the past 10 years. Furthermore, he felt that even though he had gone down the wrong path, Dongbua Shui-ing was only 39 years old this year. His battle prowess was second only to Dororo, who had grasped the profound mystery of time. How monstrous was his talent! Even if he had to start all over again and choose a new direction, he felt that Dongbua Shui-ing still had hope of rising up. But Dongbua Shui-ing actually rejected him. You can't do it? Yang stared at Dongbua Shui-ing. Because of my fanatical love, I am filled with fighting spirit on this transcendent path. But if I were to set a direction for cultivation, I would have to comprehend and move forward in this direction. Under this kind of restriction, I won't be able to cultivate like this for 1,000 years. I'm afraid that my cultivation speed will be greatly reduced. Dongbua Shui-ing shook his head. Child's play. Nonsense. What do you take cultivation for? You don't have a cultivation direction, and you can cultivate however you want. Do you really think you can become a demigod? Yang shook his head. What kind of status did he have? Most of the transcendents who cultivated casually without proper nurturing would become ordinary. There were some transcendents who set a clear path for themselves and followed it steadily. With every step they took, they would become stronger. After a few hundred years, they would definitely have the chance to become a saint. More than 90% of saint-level transcendents were like this. It was the same for most of the demigods. As for those who could casually cultivate to become a demigod or even a deity, in the end, there were only a handful of them. Very quickly, Wen Yong and Du Ro also finished exchanging pointers. Abbot Si Kong Yang also gave them some pointers, but his expression was not good. Based on this round of exchanging pointers, the ranking will be decided again. Si Kong Yang casually announced. Du Ro and Wen Yong were still first and second place. Wu Tsong third, Zhua Yi fourth, Situ Hong fifth, Zhang Peng sixth, Yu Feng seventh, Puyangbo eighth, and Dongbua Shuang ninth. He was immediately ranked first from the bottom. Dongbua Shuang. Si Kong Yang turned to look at Dongbua Shuang. You are wasting our Xia people's resources by doing this. Do as you please. You better take care of yourself. After finishing his words, Si Kong Yang instantly took a step forward and disappeared. Master Gong, you didn't say anything more. He only shook his head, sighed, and left. Only Dongbua Shuang and the rest were left on the empty land. Dongbua Shuang. The oldest Situ, Hong, shook his head with a hint of ridicule on his face. For the past 10 years, you have wasted all those precious treasures that you ate. I really feel heartache for our Xia people. Situ Hong actually couldn't stand Dongbua Shuang. Back then, he was the one who cultivated the profound mystery of space the fastest and was highly regarded by faction head Si Kong Yang. However, he was stuck at the bottleneck of the second level of the profound mystery of myriad existences and was unable to break through. That was why his ranking dropped. And in these 10 years, Dongbua Shuang was the most dazzling amongst them. Because his chances of becoming a demigod were extremely low, Dongbua Shuang was thought to have a 100% chance of becoming a demigod. A demigod? Although Situ Hong was jealous and unhappy, he still wanted to curry favor with him and didn't dare to offend him. Actually, the one who made him unhappy the most was junior sister Zhua Yi. Junior sister Zhua Yi had the extreme Yin body, which made Situ Hong chase after her. However, it was obvious that junior sister Zhua Yi didn't like him. But junior sister Zhua Yi was extremely close to Dongbua Shuang. She could be said to be the closest to him. If Dongbua Shuang really went to chase after her, junior sister might very well throw herself into his arms. Luckily, Dongbua Shuang was like a block of wood and kept his distance from junior sister. Even so, Situ Hong had always been jealous. He had always been suppressing it. But now, Dongbua Shuang had actually destroyed his own future. His great future was destroyed just like that. Situ Hong was too excited. The jealousy and unhappiness that he had suppressed in the past naturally erupted. He couldn't be bothered to hide it and directly sneered. Senior Situ Hong, you can't say it like that. Junior brother Snow Eagle's future was originally extremely good. Wen Yong said, it's just that he took the wrong path. Extremely good future? He doesn't even have a future. Didn't you hear? He has always been cultivating as he pleases. Cultivating as he pleases. He is destined to have no future. Situ Hong was very disdainful as he glanced at Dongbua Shuang. He is actually my Situ Hong's junior brother. What embarrassment. Senior Situ Hong, that's enough. Doruru said. Only then did Situ Hong hold it in and continue to sneer. He glanced sideways at Dongbua Shuang and couldn't be bothered to look him in the eye. Junior brother Snow Eagle, how can you be so reckless? Sigh. Doruru was also very disappointed. Old brother. Puyang Bo hugged Dongbua Shuang and laughed. I have been last place for so many years. I didn't expect that I would finally be second from the bottom. Ha! I am third from the bottom. Yu Feng muttered. I am fourth from the bottom. Zhang Peng laughed. Dongbua Shuang looked on silently. Only when they were in dire straits would some people reveal their true colors. Previously, he was certain that he would definitely become a demigod. Naturally, they treated him extremely well. But now, Puyang Bo, Yu Feng, and Zhang Peng were still very sincere towards him. Dongbua Shuang could feel it. Senior sister Doruru was obviously very disappointed. Wen Yong also maintained some distance from him. Wu Tsong stood at the corner alone, not uttering a single word. Situ Hong was the one who was the most obvious. The kind of ridicule and disdain was clearly not concealed at all. As for the senior sister, who was very close to him in the past, she stood at a distance and shook her head lightly. She couldn't be bothered to look at Dongbua Shui Ying anymore. In the past, she was very close to Dongbua Shui Ying. She only felt that Dongbua Shui Ying could become a demigod, an ordinary transcendent. She wouldn't be interested in him. There were many powerful transcendents chasing after her. I'll be going back first. Dongbua Shui Ying said to Yufeng and the rest who were beside him. After 10 years together, they were already good friends. Shall we go for a drink tonight? Pu Yongbo asked. Nope. Dongbua Shui Ying immediately turned into a ray of light and flew far away. If I were you, I wouldn't have the face to come to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world in the future. Situ Hong purposely shouted loudly. His voice carried a spatial ripple as it was transmitted into Dongbua Shui Ying's ears. Dongbua Shui Ying, who was flying in the sky, turned his head and looked at Situ Hong coldly, after which he couldn't be bothered with him anymore and flew far away. Xia capital, Dongbua Shui Ying's mansion. A black-robed Dongbua Shui Ying descended from the sky and flew into the mansion. It was rare that he didn't enter through the main entrance. Master, the female housekeeper Su Qin and a few servants bowed respectfully. They were just mortals. To them, Dongbua Shui Ying was a high and mighty transcendent. They didn't dare to offend him. They could tell that Dongbua Shui Ying wasn't in a good mood. That they didn't know, just a moment ago, their master, Dongbua Shui Ying, was severely reprimanded by a peak demigod. Furthermore, his status was greatly reduced. I want some peace and quiet. Don't disturb me. Dongbua Shui Ying instructed. He then walked to the reclining chair in the garden and casually laid down. Picking up the flask of spiritual liquid from the stone of oceanic world, he took a sip. His entire body felt refreshed, and his mind became clearer. He then started to think carefully. Chapter 138. I was almost frightened by the faction head just now. Dongbua Shui Ying laughed at himself. He had already expected to be reprimanded and was very firm in his decision. But when faced with the wrath of a peak demigod, he still felt fear in his heart. It was like an ant in front of a huge dragon. Under the rage of the huge dragon, the ant could not help but lower its head in fear. But Dongbua Shui Ying was very determined and did not lower his head. Actually, Si Kong Yang's words had caused Dongbua Shui Ying to reflect. Maybe he was wrong, but even if he changed his mind, he would not change his mind just because of a few words from Si Kong Yang. He had to think carefully and make his own decision. Would he lower his head under Si Kong Yang's pressure? This was not Dongbua Shui Ying's personality. Using history as a mirror is not wrong. I should look at the records of our ancestors in the history of the Xia people. Dongbua Shui Ying thought to himself. The history of the Xia people was too long. The records of every transcendent were longer. Previously, he had only seen the records of those ancestors who had become demigods and the extremely famous demigods. He had not even seen the records of 99% of the demigods, not to mention the saint and sky transcendents. I shall finish reading all the records of all the demigods in the history of the Xia people. Dongbua Shui Ying decided. Infernal Palace, Xia History Pavilion. A black-robed youth walked into this ancient pavilion. The pavilion was very quiet. Bookshelves were placed everywhere, and every bookshelf was at least 100 meters tall. Countless golden books were placed on the bookshelves. These golden books were the records of every transcendent in the history of the Xia people. As vast as the sea, Dongbua Shui Ying sighed. In these 3,000 years, the Xia people had about 20 demigods. How long was the history of the Xia people? Even if a transcendent could read quickly, it would still take him the time to finish a cup of tea, to finish reading the records of a demigod. Even if he did not sleep, rest, or cultivate at all times, he would still take a few years to finish reading all the half-deities' dossiers. And for transcendents, cultivation was very important. It was already very good if they could spend 2 to 4 hours a day reading scrolls. This would require tens of years. It had been too long. Most transcendents wouldn't even finish reading the demigod scroll. There were even more saint-ranked and sky-ranked transcendents. Therefore, The number of scrolls was extremely huge. Dongbui Shui Ying only dared to say that he had read through all the scrolls on the demigods. Fiery Night Shangwan, May-June. Dongbui Shui Ying picked up a thick golden leaf book and started reading. From then on, Dongbui Shui Ying spent most of his time in the summer pavilion flipping through the scrolls. Even when he practiced his spear arts, he did so in his own mansion. He did not enter the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world at all. Abbot Si Kong Yang said that he was wasting the resources of the Xia people. In that case, he would not use them anymore. Dongbui Shui Ying was still a prideful person. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Impressive, impressive. Dongbui Shui Ying held onto the flask of wine as he drank. He sat cross-legged on the ground and flipped through the scrolls. He could not help but cheer when he saw the exciting parts. A man should live this life to his heart's content. Tap, tap, tap. Suddenly, there were clear footsteps coming from within the pavilion. This caused Dongbui Shui Ying to turn his head in shock. There were very few transcendents who came to the summer pavilion. Even if they did, they would rarely make such clear footsteps. Dongbui Shui Ying looked towards the direction of the sound. A bald and skinny old man wearing slippers was walking over slowly. The slippers even revealed his toes. Vice Abbot Chao Qing. Dongbui Shui Ying stood up. He was very respectful towards Senior Chao Qing. The reason why he was able to become a substitute elder was because of Senior Chao Qing's recommendation. Sit. Make yourself at home. Young lad, don't be too restrained. Chao Qing walked over and sat cross-legged as well. He then sniffed and looked at the flask of wine in Dongbui Shui Ying's hands. Do you still have wine? Yes. Dongbui Shui Ying knew what to do. He immediately took out a flask of wine and placed it in front of Chao Qing. Chao Qing took it and gulped down 2 mouthfuls. His eyes brightened. This wine is not bad. It's strong enough. You sure know how to enjoy yourself. I heard that you didn't go back to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. I thought you were beaten up by Si Kong Yang. But looking at you, you're shaking your head while reading the scrolls. You seem to be in a good mood? If I'm in a good mood, I'll be in a bad mood for a day. Of course, I have to be in a good mood every day. Dongbui Shui Ying laughed. You're optimistic. Chao Qing nodded. Do you know why I'm here today? Dongbui Shui Ying was startled. He then replied awkwardly, I know. It's because I destroyed my own path towards the true meaning of water and fire. Wrong. Chao Qing shook his head. Dongbui Shui Ying was stunned. It wasn't because of this? Looking at Senior Chao Qing, he was already prepared to be reprimanded. It's because you didn't go to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. Chao Qing shouted. Don't you think you're an idiot? Even though you're currently ranked 9th, the various types of spirit liquids and fruits are extremely rare. Wouldn't it be a waste if you don't eat them? You must know that back then, this old man thought of all sorts of ways to let you become a substitute elder. If you don't eat them, wouldn't my efforts be in vain? This old face of mine, Chao Qing, is still worth those spirit liquids and fruits. Dongbui Shui Ying didn't know what to say at this moment. Faction head Si Kong Yang said that it was a waste of resources, but Chao Qing said that if he didn't eat them, he would be wasting his efforts. Vice faction head Dongbui Shui Ying thought for a moment before asking, You're not angry? What's there to be angry about? Chao Qing grinned. If it was 300 years ago, I would probably be furious. But now that I'm nearing death, I feel that there's no need to tire myself out on the path of cultivation. Being happy is also a form of cultivation. If I were to start over, I might cultivate even more recklessly. Dongbui Shui Ying could feel Senior Chao Qing's carefree attitude. What are you thinking? Chao Qing asked curiously. By doing this, aren't you afraid that your cultivation will end up in a dead end? There are often transcendents who cultivated randomly. They would try to comprehend a little here and there. In the end, they would be unable to fuse them together and fall into a dead end. I'm afraid. Dongbui Shui Ying smiled. But I've thought it through. Firstly, I feel that my path of pursuing the pinnacle of spear arts is not wrong. I really like spear arts. Secondly, with the fusion of water, fire, and wind, my improvement is extremely fast. I believe that within 30 years, I will be able to reach the third level of realms of myriad existences. If I find that it's a dead end in the future, I would probably only waste 100 to 200 years. At that time, I would have enough time to start all over again. Right? It's good that you have this attitude. At most, I'll just waste 100 to 200 years. Chao Qing laughed. The profound mysteries of water and fire were also very close to the third level of realms of myriad existences. Once he reached the third level of realms of myriad existences, just by using the profound mysteries of water and fire to nurture his transcendent chi, he would definitely be able to step into the saint realm. During the transcendent battle of life and death, Dongbua Shui Ying's profound mystery of fire was already at the second level of realms of myriad existences. This kind of talent was indeed terrifying. Stepping into the saint realm was as easy as drinking water. Of course, the saint realm was nothing much to the Xia people. Demigods were the true overlord existences. I was worried about you previously, but now, it seems like there's nothing to worry about. Chao Qing finished his wine and stood up. I can feel that you're filled with confidence. On the path of transcendence, confidence is very important. Only when you're filled with confidence can you overcome all obstacles on this path. And if you don't even have confidence in yourself, how much can you achieve? I hope that your profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind can create a new true meaning. Chao Qing sighed. It would be best if this old man can see it before I close my eyes. Dongbua Shui Ying was stunned. That's right, Chao Qing was too close to the end of his lifespan. Dongbua Shui Ying will definitely do his best. Dongbua Shui Ying replied. Good. Being young means you're always filled with hope. Chao Qing laughed as he turned around and left. Remember, when you go to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, finish all the food and drinks. If you don't eat, it'll be a waste. Yes, Dongbua Shui Ying respectfully replied. Chao Qing's figure had already disappeared at the corner of the street. Chapter 139. In the blink of an eye, another year passed. On this day, Dongbua Shui Ying was still reading scrolls. The more he read, the more he liked to read. This was because every demigod was a legend. Their experiences were extremely mysterious, allowing Dongbua Shui Ying to gain a deeper understanding of divinities and the dark abyss. On this day, Palace Head Hewen was pondering over spell models in the garden. Suddenly, the world projection of a divinity descended. This divinity was an ancestor of the Xia people, Emperor Yunhai. He was also an ancestor of the Ocean Deity Palace. Dongbua Shui Ying flipped through the scrolls of a demigod, who was also a palace head of the Ocean Deity Palace, Palace Head Hewen. Palace Head Hewen was overjoyed and immediately welcomed him respectfully. To be able to project himself in the mortal world, Emperor Yunhai was clearly much more powerful than when he became a divinity. Emperor Yunhai bestowed 3 top-grade secret techniques. Palace Head Hewen immediately asked Emperor Yunhai for guidance. Emperor Yunhai said, "If you want to become a divinity, I'm unable to guide you. In the divinity world, I once gave guidance to a good friend who had just become a divinity. Who would have thought that this friend of mine would go berserk, his true deity heart would crumble, and he would die on the spot? I was filled with regret. From then on, I understood that cultivation is very personal. In the early stages, I might be able to guide you, but the further you go, the less I can casually guide you. This is because every powerful transcendent and divinity has their own path. If I were to forcefully guide them, it would only cause them to be at a loss. If you insist on my guidance, I can only say, ask your heart. The stronger your conviction, the more determined you are, then walk that path. Perhaps this path might not be very successful, but if you become a divinity and walk your own path, at least you won't go berserk and your true deity heart will crumble. As for the detailed guidance on cultivation, I dare not say too much. If I do, I'm afraid that it will delay you." When Dongbua Shui Ying saw this, his entire body shook. Found it. The thing that he wanted the most, he found it. Emperor Yunhai was an ancestor who became a divinity. Moreover, it could even project a world projection. Clearly, it was a powerful god. Whatever he said, There must be some logic behind it. Ying was incomparably excited. Over the past year, Dongbui Ying had read many scrolls, and from them, he could feel the debate between the ancestors of the Xia people regarding the direction of cultivation. There were a few seniors who believed that cultivation should be done with the heart. Even if there were setbacks, they had to go through it themselves. In history, there were many heaven-defying demigods and even gods who had taken this path. However, most of the seniors believed that cultivation should have a direction and move forward step by step. Every time one comprehended something, one's strength would increase. Only then would it be more efficient. Most demigods did this, and there were quite a few deities who did the same. The latter method was more efficient. It could allow the Xia people to give birth to more demigods. This was also what the elders of the Xia people were guiding all the transcendents to do. But the truly heaven-defying ones mostly followed their hearts. For example, Qiu Bai first cultivated the ordinary, profound mystery of wind of myriad creation, and then unexpectedly grasped the true meaning of space cleavage. In the future, he had the chance to become the world's #1. Thus, this type of cultivation that followed one's heart. In history, there were many heaven-defying people. For example, the strongest demigod in history, Purgatory Knight Jieli, followed his heart completely. Such a demigod could fight against a group of demigods. Emperor Yunhai is right. Cultivation is a private matter. I shouldn't forcefully give pointers. Dongbui calmed down. Even with Emperor Yunhai's strength, he wasn't willing to give pointers to a demigod for fear of misleading him. Although Si Kong Yang was strong, compared to Emperor Yunhai who could project a world, he was still lacking. If Emperor Yunhai was in front of him, he would probably encourage him to follow his heart. Scarlet Cloud, Mountain World. Recently, something big happened. The oldest among them, Situ Hong, had finally broken through to the 3rd level of myriad creation. He immediately rose to the 2nd position. In terms of potential, he had a higher chance of grasping a true meaning than Doruru, who was ranked 1st. The 3rd level of myriad creation. As long as he broke through one more step, he would be able to grasp a true meaning. Hua Hua. From afar, 2 figures flew side by side, a man and a woman. The man was tall and handsome, while the woman was filled with endless charm. The 2 flew side by side, on top of a mountain far away. Dongbui Yufeng, Puyang Bo, and Zhang Peng were eating and drinking together. Looking at this Situ Hong's smug look, I feel very unhappy. Puyang Bo sneered. Among the 9 of us from the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, he is the most hypocritical. Who would have thought that he would be the first to break through to the 3rd level of myriad creation? Strength and character have nothing to do with each other. Yufeng laughed. AI. Zhang Peng sighed. Why does junior sister Zhui like him? Senior Zhang Peng. Are you also thinking about senior sister Zhui? Dongbui laughed and teased. The 4 of them had an extremely good relationship. Actually, Puyang Bo and Yufeng had a conflict with Situ Hong a long time ago. Situ Hong looked down on those who were weak, and he had previously looked down on Puyang Bo and the rest. Ever since Dongbui destroyed his own true meaning of water and fire, Situ Hong and Dongbui had already fallen out. That's right. It's a pity that junior sister he doesn't like me. Zhang Peng was helpless. Who asked you to not be strong enough? From what I see, if your profound mystery of space could step into the 3rd level of myriad creation, junior sister Zhua, he would probably look at you differently. Yufeng laughed. What's so good about that kind of woman? Puyang Bo said with disdain. I don't even like her. I like her, but it's a pity that Situ Hong got her. Zhang Peng shook his head. Don't worry. Dongbui said. Senior sister Zhuyi's standards are very high. She's only closer to Situ Hong now. I dare say, if Situ Hong really wants to woo senior sister Zhuyi, he would have to grasp the true meaning. Previously, when he was determined to destroy his own future, senior sister Zhua, he immediately kept her distance from him. How could such a woman be easily wooed? Far away, Situ Hong and Zhuyi were chatting and flying. Sidu Hong even turned his head to look at Dongbua Shuang and even sneered. Clown. Dongbua Shuang couldn't be bothered to look at him. He had never liked Zhuo Yi. Currently, Zhuo Yi was very close to Sidu Hong, so he naturally didn't mind. The days of cultivation were very peaceful. It had been 6 years since Dongbua Shuang was demoted to the 9th position. Although Dongbua Shuang's strength was getting stronger and stronger, he was still ranked 9th. In this year, the Tranquil Sun Province actually produced 2 new transcendents. One was the extremely young transcendent, Yuan Qing, who was only 30 years old. The other was Yu Jingxiu. What caused all the transcendents of the Xia people to click their tongues in surprise was that a province actually produced 2 transcendents in the same year. Chapter 140. Night, Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, Soaring Clouds Peak. Dongbua Shuang, dressed in black, was practicing his spear techniques. He loved to practice his spear techniques at Soaring Clouds Peak. Looking at the vast mountains, he was very open-minded. Ever since he abandoned all obstacles, no one could persuade him otherwise. The Xia People's Elders Guild no longer pressured him. After all, he was ranked last. If they continued to pressure him, at most, he would be chased out of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain World. Since ancient times, it was rare for a substitute elder to be chased out. They had to show some respect to Chao Qing. The resources of the last place were the lowest. Thus, the Xia People's Elders Guild did not feel too much heartache. Take Chao Qing, for example. Once he died, the resources he left behind would be left in the sect. Some would be given to the younger generations. Some would be left in the Infernal Palace. For Chao Qing, they could not force Dongbua Shuang too much. Without any obstacles, Dongbua Shuang's days were leisurely. If he did not want to practice, he would go to the Xia History Pavilion to read through the scrolls or drink with his friends. Suddenly, he had an epiphany and came to Soaring Clouds Peak to practice. Just like that, his spear techniques improved very quickly. Hong hong hong. Dongbua Shuang's silhouette became blurry. Around him, a strong gust of wind blew. The spear caused layers upon layers of high-pressure shock waves in the air, causing the surrounding scene to become blurry. It was as if there was endless thunder. Oh, one after another, illusory Jiao dragons rushed out and flew into the sky. Each Jiao dragon was bigger than the previous one. When the 6th Jiao dragon appeared, it was about 10 feet long. It flew across the sky, traversed a few miles, and landed on a mountain peak. With a loud boom, countless rocks fell from the mountain peak. If other transcendents were to see this, they would definitely be shocked. This was because the shock wave created by the spear was already so powerful. It was unbelievable. Weaker Saint Primary Phase transcendents might not even be able to withstand such a terrifying spear. Suddenly, Dongbua Shuang stopped. The surroundings gradually quietened down. Even the peak of Soaring Clouds Peak was silent. Wielding the spear with both hands, Dongbua Shuang had a smile on his face. 2 more arms appeared from beneath his armpits, and they were also wielding a black spear. Following that, 2 more arms appeared. These 2 arms were also holding onto a black spear. 6 arms. They all wore the same sleeves and held the same black spear. Water and fire as the bones, wind as the form. Well, I've managed to create this phantom. After half a year of perfecting it, I'm starting to be able to use it in actual combat. Dongbua Shuang was rather pleased with himself. The combination of illusion and reality, this is a good spear technique. The profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind were perfectly fused together. This allowed Dongbua Shuang to discover more possibilities. For example, the phantom. He felt that this would be of great help to his spear arts, so he immediately immersed himself in pondering over it. Now he had gradually gained some understanding. The illusory arms and the illusory spear were becoming more and more real. During a life-and-death battle, if I were to suddenly have 6 arms and 3 spears, the enemy would probably be scared silly. Dongbua Shuang was rather pleased with himself. Although the illusory arms and spears were all fake, they were able to confuse the enemy, causing them to not know which spear to block. Naturally, the threat of his spear technique would increase tremendously. Phantoms were actually extremely frightening. It would be hard for the enemy to differentiate the real from the fake. If they blocked the wrong spear, they might lose their lives. If they were to block 3 spears at the same time, the difficulty would be 10 times higher than blocking a single spear. Furthermore, this was only for now. Dongbua Shui had only cultivated for a short period of time. With the perfect fusion of the 3 profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind, he would be able to display even more terrifying prowess. Dongbua Shui raised his head to look at the sky. It's almost daybreak. Today, we are supposed to welcome Mage Jing Xiu. I really didn't expect that the Mage Jing Xiu from back then would become a transcendent so quickly. To begin with, a mage would take a much longer time to become a transcendent than a knight. Among the mages, Jing Xiu was already considered very powerful. Whoosh! Dongbua Shui immediately turned into a ray of light and flew across the sky. The place to welcome Mage Jing Xiu was still the residence of the Eternal Wind Knight, Qiu Qi Bai. After all, Qiu Qi Bai was the leader of the group of transcendents in the Tranquil Sun Province. Everyone respected him. At noon, Dongbua Shui arrived slightly ahead of time. Snow Eagle, you're here? Brother Snow Eagle, have a seat. After more than 10 years, everyone was already very familiar with each other. Dongbua Shui also smiled and greeted him. Although he had been demoted to the lowest position in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, the matter of him becoming a substitute elder had always been a secret and was never made public. In the outside world, countless transcendents still admired Dongbua Shui. He was also very famous and had the title of a transcendent genius. Dongbua Shui sat down cross-legged and smiled at a delicate youth beside him. Yuan Qing, you're here so early as well? I thought you would be cultivating in your own residence and only rush here at the last moment. Brother Snow Eagle, this transcendent battle of life and death doesn't matter. I just have to try my best. Furthermore, there's no rush in cultivating today. Yuan Qing smiled shyly. Wah wah wah. Seeing Brother Yuan Qing's shy smile, I can't help but feel moved. Dong Yu shouted. Don't scare little brother. Chung Ling Shu hurriedly said. Dongbua Shui smiled as well. Everyone had a good impression of the newly advanced transcendent Yuan Qing, including himself. This Yuan Qing had a rather shy personality, and his looks were extremely delicate and handsome. Among all the youths that he knew, his younger brother Qing Shi was the most handsome he had ever seen. Perhaps it was due to his personal preference, but from the bottom of his heart, he truly believed that his younger brother was the most handsome. Those who knew his brother all said the same thing. Even Hai Ru Zhen and Zi Che Gu Feng praised him after seeing him. And among all the youths he knew, Yuan Qing's appearance could be ranked in the top 10. Moreover, he was very handsome and shy. But he was also a genius who immersed himself in cultivation. Just like that, he cultivated all the way to the transcendent realm. He was only 30 years old. One must know that Dongbua Shui only became a transcendent at the age of 28. Without Dongbua Shui, Yuan Qing would be the youngest transcendent in the past 1,000 years. Sister Jing Xiu is here. Just as everyone was happily chatting, Peng Shan said. Dongbua Shui and the others turned to look. Under the guidance of a guard, a beautiful, green-robed female sorcerer walked over. Dongbua Shui eyes lit up. Even Peng Shan, Yuan Qing, Qi Qiu Bai, and the others were slightly surprised. So beautiful. Whenever they saw something beautiful in the world, they could not help but sigh in admiration. And at this moment, Jing Xiu was walking over, causing Shui and the others to be stunned. Even though Shui had seen Jing Xiu in the past, he was still stunned at this moment. One must know that female sorcerers were highly respected because of their temperament. Legend-ranked sorcerers had a lifespan of 200 years. 100 years old was equivalent to a 50-year-old mortal. No matter how well they took care of themselves, they would still look like a middle-aged woman. Even when they became transcendent, they would be reborn and become younger, but it would still be hard for them to feel like a young lady. But Jing Xiu was different. She became a meteor realm very young and became a transcendent at a young age. This kind of age was enough to defeat many female transcendents. Furthermore, after becoming a transcendent, she was reborn. Before becoming a transcendent, she was a peerless beauty with a good foundation. But after becoming a transcendent, she was a soul-stirring beauty. Just looking at her was a form of enjoyment. Amongst all the female transcendents in the Xia people with good looks and temperament, Jing Xiu would probably be ranked first. Jing Xiu stepped into the hall. Her gaze swept across and landed on Dongbua Shuang. Her lips curled into a smile. Finally, I have become a transcendent and can stand beside you. Chapter 141. How sharp were the senses of transcendence? Everyone instantly confirmed that Mage Jing Xiu was currently looking at Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang also felt it. Their gazes met. This feeling, Dongbua Shuang felt his heartbeat quicken. Sister Jing Xiu is staring at Brother Snow Eagle. Wow, both of them are from Azure River County, right? TSK, TSK, TSK. I'm afraid there's a story behind this. Peng Shan laughed. I think there's a story behind this as well. Looking at Sister Jing Xiu's eyes and Brother Snow Eagle's expression, oh, I'm almost moved to tears. Cheng Ling Shu said. Dongbua Shuang felt somewhat ashamed. Jing Xiu smiled. Dongbua Shuang saved my life before. A hero saving a beauty? Peng Shan stared. There really is a story behind this. Qi Qiu Bai shook his head. Jing Xiu, sit down first. Hai Ruzhen said. Yes, teacher. Jing Xiu said, then obediently sat down. Peng Shan shouted, Brother Snow Eagle, don't be so silent. Hurry up and tell us what happened. How did you become a hero, saving a beauty? At that time, Mage Jing Xiu and I received the same Black Iron mission. Dongbua Shuang said, during the mission, we met with some danger and trouble. In the end, only Mage Jing Xiu and I survived. I was lucky enough to save Mage Jing Xiu, but I almost died. Actually, since we were comrades on the same mission, helping each other is something I should do. It's nothing much. Only the two of you survived? Cheng Ling Shu's eyes shone. That sounds very tempting. What happened next? A hero saving a beauty? Did the beauty repay him with her body? What are you talking about? Peng Shan stared. Is Sister Jing Xiu that kind of girl? It should be a secret love. And when the conditions are right, success will follow naturally. Sister Jing Xiu, Brother Snow Eagle, am I right? The other transcendents were still fanning the flames. All right, stop teasing my disciple. Hai Ruzhen said. After that mission, Jing Xiu stayed at the Eternal Wind Academy. Afterwards, I heard that Brother Snow Eagle fell into the Black Wind Abyss. Everyone was just joking. After a while, they changed the topic. As they ate and drank, they chatted casually. Soon, they talked about the transcendent battle of life and death. After all, whether it was Yuan Qing or Jing Xiu, both of them would be facing their transcendent battle of life and death. Little brother Yuan Qing, you've become a transcendent at such a young age. Set Snow Eagle as your goal. He's won 9 matches. Cheng Ling Shu said. I'm not asking for much. You just need to win 6 matches. Little Sister Ling Shu, it seems like you won a lot of money from betting on Brother Snow Eagle's transcendent battle of life and death. You want to continue winning. Peng Shan beamed, but Yuan Qing doesn't have a primordial bloodline. Winning 6 matches isn't easy. It's precisely because it wasn't easy that we lost so much, Cheng Lingshu said. You only know how to gamble. If you gamble too much, you'll definitely lose. Ziche Gu Feng shook his head. You're just jealous. This time, I didn't gamble a lot. It's only 50 gene of origin stones. The amount I won against Brother Snow Eagle is enough for me to lose many times. Cheng Ling Shu said proudly. And if I win, hee. Cheng Ling Shu was a female mage. As a mage, she was very smart. Even if she gambled, she would control herself. In the Xia capital's gambling house, the ones who lost the most were the Transcendent Knights. Little Sister Jing Xiu, how many matches do you think you can win? Cheng Ling Shu asked. Jing Xiu lightly shook her head and smiled. I don't have any confidence. I might even lose the first match. You still have a long way to go. You still have a year to prepare. Xiao Qibai said. In this year, you might have a breakthrough. Winning 5 or 6 matches might not be impossible. Take Snow Eagle, for example. During the transcendent battle of life and death, he had a breakthrough and reached the second level of realms of myriad existences. Right, Snow Eagle. Back then you were at the second level of myriad existences. Now you should be at the third level of myriad existences, right? The profound mysteries of water and fire are the third level of the realms of myriad existences. Donghua Shuang nodded. I guess so. You've just become a transcendent, and you're already at the second level of the realms of myriad existences. With your talent, it should be about the same. Xiao Qibai nodded. The profound mysteries of water and fire are mutually reinforcing and restraining mysteries. Using these two mysteries to nurture extraordinary Do Qi, I'm afraid it won't be long before you step into the Saint Realm. Don't say that. We still have a group of Sky Realm transcendents here. Dong Yu said helplessly. This really makes one feel powerless. In order to step into the second level of myriad existences, I've spent 160 years. Until now, I have not been able to step into the third level. Zone 2 sighed. A monster is a monster. All of them sighed. It was indeed a sigh. Usually, when one becomes a transcendent, they would only be able to attain one with the world, and not even reach the first level of the realms of myriad existences. Some of them had even reached the first level of myriad existences. To reach the second level was usually very difficult. Spending over 100 years was a normal situation. To reach the third level was even more difficult. Spending 500 to 600 years was also normal. At this time, nurturing extraordinary Do Qi would give hope of breaking through. However, just nurturing one of the ordinary, profound mysteries of the third level of myriad existences would take a very long time. Some would not be able to break through even when they died. But Donghua Shuang already had the profound mysteries of water and fire that had mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. His efficiency had increased by 10 times, and he would probably be able to step into the Saint Realm within 20 to 30 years. Nobody was jealous, because during the transcendent battle of life and death, he was already at the second level of myriad existences. How could they compare? Saint Realm. Donghua Shuang was very calm. After staying in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world for a long time and being taught by the two demigods, Gongyu and Si Kongyang, he had already subconsciously thought that the Saint Realm was nothing. 2 months later, Infernal Palace, Hall of Life and Death. An extremely lively, transcendent battle of life and death was being held here. The main character was the extremely young and newly advanced transcendent, Yuan Qing. Yuan Qing was too young and was very close to the age of Donghua Shuang. Naturally, it attracted many transcendents to spectate. There were even quite a few demigods who came. The mortals of the Xia capital were even more crowded. The entire Hall of Life and Death was boiling. Beautiful. Qiu Qibai, Peng Shan, Donghua Shuang, Jing Xiu, Hairu Zhen, and the other transcendents of the Tranquil Sun province were gathered together at the eastern viewing area, overlooking the ongoing battle. Yuan Qing's combat power was truly astonishing. Amazing. Qiu Qibai praised. Donghua Shuang looked downwards, understanding in his heart. It seems that the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world will have another junior disciple. Yuan Qing had actually begun to fuse the profound mysteries of light and darkness together. Even though he was unfamiliar with it, it was not like when he created the water and fire twin dragon attack, a killing technique that fused profound mysteries together. But without a doubt, he had indeed begun to fuse them together. The true meaning of light and darkness is a grade 3 true meaning. Is one grade higher than my true meaning of water and fire. Donghua Shuang smiled. But it is also a good thing for the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world to have a junior disciple like Yuan Qing. Donghua Shuang suddenly realized a problem. The moment Yuan Qing entered the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, wouldn't he be ranked 10th? Who cares about him? In any case, he will be ranked last. Donghua Shuang laughed at himself, beaming as he watched Yuan Qing's battle. Chapter 142. The power of the profound mystery of light and darkness was indeed astonishing. Even though he was unfamiliar with the fusion in the beginning, it still allowed Yuan Qing to win 6 transcendent battles of life and death. Even though he was not as dazzling as Shui Ying in the past, under the circumstances where he did not have any primordial bloodline, being able to fight his way to the 6th match at such a young age was already an amazing feat many transcendents sighed in admiration. Tranquil Sun Province seems to have produced many geniuses recently. That's right. Let's not talk about the Eternal Wind Knight. He's number 1 on the Saint ranking. Previously, Dongbua Shui Ying was also extremely monstrous, and this Yuan Qing is also amazing. Did you guys notice? Aren't the 3 youngest transcendents in 1,000 years Dongbua Shui Ying, Yuan Qing, and Qi Qiubai? It's true. They actually appear in the same province. Looks like it's the Tranquil Sun Province's turn to erupt. The transcendents discussed among themselves, treating it as a form of entertainment. After all, the Xia people were still very united. Some of the competitions between the 6 great transcendent organizations were also rather peaceful. Such matters could only be considered as gossip. Little brother Yuan Qing, you're too ferocious, too awesome. Come, let the sister give you a kiss. Cheng Ling Shu was so agitated that she wanted to hug Yuan Qing, scaring him into hiding behind Peng Shan. Peng Shan shamelessly said, Sister Ling Shu, come, kiss me. I'm not in the mood to see that old face of yours. Cheng Ling Shu pursed her lips and smiled at Yuan Qing. Little brother Yuan Qing, you and the Snow Eagle are my lucky stars. In the 2 transcendent battle of life and death, how much did you win in total? Qiu Qibai smiled. Dongbua Shui Ying and the others were curious as well. Cheng Ling Shu squinted her eyes, feeling quite pleased with herself. Not much, not much. Adding up the 2 times, it's just over 500 kilograms of origin stones. Ha ha. She couldn't help but laugh as she finished speaking. The others at the side were also quite envious. 500 kilograms of origin stones. The last time Dongbua Shui Ying won 9 rounds of the transcendent battle of life and death, he was only over 5,000 jin. But there was no point in being envious. Gambling. Transcendents were very vigilant, because there were too many examples of people falling into it. Everything went as expected. The 2nd day, Scarlet Cloud Mountain World. From today onwards, our Scarlet Cloud Mountain will have another transcendent. His name is Yuan Qing. Xikong Yang stood there, emitting a formless pressure. He was like the most dazzling sun in the afternoon. He was the most tyrannical and made people revere him. Yuan Qing will be your junior brother. I hope that you can cherish this brotherly relationship. Of course, I hope that 1 or 2 of you can awaken demigods. I used to think highly of Dongbua Shui Ying. Xikong Yang swept his gaze across. Among the group of sky realm transcendents in front of him, Dongbua Shui Ying was sitting at a corner, keeping a low profile. Ever since faction head Xikong Yang and the others were completely disappointed, Dongbua Shui Ying could no longer be bothered to perform. Because no matter how outstanding his performance was, he would always be reprimanded and would always be ranked last. Since that was the case, Dongbua Shui Ying could not be bothered to show off anymore. Amen? Yuan Qing sneaked a glance at Dongbua Shui Ying. He was rather excited to be selected as a substitute elder. When he saw Dongbua Shui Ying, he was even happier. After all, even though he and Dongbua Shui Ying had only known each other for a short period of time, they had similar personalities. But Dongbua Shui Ying relied on his talent to cultivate recklessly. Xikong Yang said coldly, the path of the true meaning of water and fire was actually destroyed by himself. Until now, he is still unrepentant. Everyone went silent. Zhuo Yi glanced at Dongbua Shui Ying, who was sitting at the corner. She had once been moved by Dongbua Shui Ying. She felt that he was young and had extraordinary talent. In the future, he might even become a demigod. Even though he wasn't extremely handsome, his appearance wasn't bad. The more she looked at him, the more attractive he became. Furthermore, being young was always an advantage. Sidu Hong, Zhang Peng, and the rest all felt that they were getting closer to middle-aged men. However, Dong Shui was extremely young. It was a pity that he had destroyed his own future. Without his strength, he would be nothing. Sidu Hong was secretly excited as he listened. He loved to listen to faction head Si Kong Yang reprimanding him. The calmest person on the scene was actually Dongbua Shuang. After all, 6 years had passed, and his conviction was incomparably firm. In his heart, he understood. The reason why faction head Si Kong Yang reprimanded him was because he hoped that he would repent and listen to him, starting all over again. After all, Dongbua Shuang was still very young. He still had time to start all over again. Yuan Qing, your talent is extremely high. However, compared to Dongbua Shuang, you are still slightly lacking. Si Kong Yang said indifferently. Therefore, all the more you must not act recklessly and destroy your own future. Yes, Yuan Qing hurriedly replied. At this moment, he was completely confused. He didn't know what had happened previously. How did Dongbua Shuang destroy his path of the true meaning of water and fire? He completely didn't know. However, Si Kong Yang's aura was too tyrannical. Yuan Qing didn't dare to ask any more questions. He only knew that yes was the correct answer. A moment later, Si Kong Yang left. Gong Yu spoke a few words before leaving as well. Yuan Qing, as a newcomer, was ranked 5th in the middle. Shui, on the other hand, was naturally ranked 10th. This group of senior brothers and sisters also introduced themselves to each other. My name is Situ Hong. I'm the oldest amongst us. You could just call me Senior Brother Situ. Situ Hong was the first to stand out. He smiled and acted like a good senior brother. The others also introduced themselves one by one. Yuan Qing, I'll make a move first. Dongbua Shuang patted on Yuan Qing's shoulder. He immediately streaked across the sky and left. He couldn't be bothered to stay here any longer. He immediately left to read through the scrolls. Amen. Yuan Qing nodded. Last night, he and Shuang from the Tranquil Sun province had even spent the entire night drinking. Within the Scarlet Cloud Mountain, he was indeed closest to Shuang. Junior brother Yuan Qing, let me tell you. Situ Hong walked over and whispered, it's better for you to maintain a distance from this Dongbua Shuang. Maintain a distance? Yuan Qing was stunned. Situ Hong explained, he's arrogant and foolish. Didn't you hear what faction head Si Kong Yang said? He was originally walking on the path of the true meaning of water and fire. Many people thought highly of him. However, he actually went to comprehend some profound mystery of wind. He created a combination of the profound mysteries of wind, fire, and water. It's such a mess that he destroyed his path of cultivation. Yuan Qing was slightly shocked. He didn't know about this before. What does Senior Brother Snow Eagle dare to do? That's why I said he's arrogant, foolish, and conceited. Situ Hong sneered. Faction head has reprimanded him many times, but he still doesn't listen. Humph. He's still young and has plenty of time to be impudent. In the future, when he's weak and gets bullied or even killed by some transcendent aboriginals, he'll know regret. Situ Hong, speaking ill of people behind their backs and cursing them. Isn't that too much? Puyang Bo sneered at the side. I'm just telling junior brother Yuan Qing some things. Situ Hong coldly glanced at Puyang Bo. Yuan Qing silently watched everything. Foolish and conceited? No. Today was the first time he met Si Kong Yang. In front of Si Kong Yang, the pressure was too strong. Senior brother Snow Eagle actually dared to go against faction head Si Kong Yang. And after such a long time, he was still the same person. This wasn't something that could be done by simply being arrogant. It required absolute determination and determination. Ordinary transcendence wouldn't have the courage to resist such pressure. Yuan Qing looked at Situ Hong beside him. He understood that senior brother Snow Eagle and this senior brother Situ Hong were two completely different people. Chapter 143. At most, he would be chased out of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. With such mental preparation, Dongbua Shuang was probably the most carefree out of all his fellow disciples in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. He would often sit alone in the Xia Pavilion, leisurely drinking wine and flipping through the scrolls. It was as though he had traveled back to the different eras of the Xia people's history, experiencing different stories. In the history of the Xia people, there were wars everywhere, large-scale invasions from demons, almost annihilation of an entire race, and the rampage of demonic beasts compared to some of the terrifying disasters in history. The current era was a very peaceful one. Furthermore, as time passed, the foundation of the Xia people grew deeper and deeper. Compared to some of the ancient heroes in history, I, Dongbua Shuang, am still too young and inexperienced. The more Dongbua Shuang saw, the more he understood how shallow he was. Although some of them were not able to ascend to godhood, it did not mean that they were weak. When they were demigods, some of them even had strength close to that of a god. Some of them fought against other races, some of them fought against demons, and finally died in battle. If they had enough time, some of them might even become gods. Half a year later, Jing Qiu also began her transcendent battle of life and death. Dressed in a green robe, Jing Qiu stood there, her fine black hair draping over her shoulders. She naturally emitted a faint, cold aura, giving off a feeling that no one would dare to approach her. So beautiful. The Transcendents were somewhat shocked. Countless mortals were completely stunned. After stepping into the Transcendent realm, one's hair, skin luster, and eyes would all undergo a transformation. That was why such a soul-stirring beauty could appear. A transcendent female mage, as long as she was not too old and had a decent appearance. Coupled with the temperament of a transcendent female mage, she would usually have many pursuers. Humph. Shui sat and watched the battle, snorting coldly in her heart. It's just a face. It was not only Shui. At this moment, there were quite a few beautiful female transcendents who were also unhappy, because they all felt a huge threat. Of course, most of the female transcendents were just envious. The battle began. In the transcendent battle of life and death, transcendent mages were at a disadvantage. They were forbidden from using any magic equipment and could only use the most common of staffs. No wonder beauties are favored. Watching her fight is a pleasure. Dongbua Shuang smiled. He tried his best to remain calm, but in the depths of his heart, he had a special feeling towards Jing Qiu. Back when he first met her in the Dragon Mountain Manor in Azure River County, he already had that special feeling. Not good. Initially, there were a total of 5 demigods spectating the battle from the eastern viewing area. Suddenly, one of the red-robed demigods' expression changed, and he stood up. Who? His figure flashed and disappeared from the Palace of Life and Death. The red-robed demigod soon arrived at a secret space within the Infernal Palace. A floating bridge pierced through the void. There were 3 figures standing on the floating bridge. The one in the lead was a black-haired old man, and beside him were 2 powerful demigods. Palace Lord. The red-robed demigod bowed respectfully. The black-haired elder nodded. Brother Xian, you also sensed it? I'm in charge of a portion of the Infernal Palace. Of course, I can sense the vast and powerful ripples. The red-robed demigod nodded. Palace Lord, where did such a huge commotion come from? That's right. Palace Lord, where did the commotion come from? The other 2 demigods asked. This was the most secretive place of the Infernal Palace. It hid many secrets of the Xia people, and only the Palace Lord of the Infernal Palace knew about it. Because the Palace Lord of the Infernal Palace was the most loyal. The ancestors of the Xia people had left behind many methods. If one wanted to become the Palace Lord, they wouldn't even have the chance to betray the palace. Follow me, the black-haired elder said. The 4 demigods quickly followed the floating bridge and flew towards the depths of the void. Wherever they passed, there would occasionally be some powerful ripples. There were even some huge humanoid creatures lying in the void below. It's right in front, the black-haired elder said. Very quickly, he stopped. Ripples appeared in the void before dissipating, revealing the scene behind the ripples. Who? It was a world of fluttering snowflakes. Amidst the countless snowflakes, a white-haired old lady walked out. Her hair was silvery white and combed very neatly. She had a smile on her face and looked very amiable. However, As she walked through the snowflake world, the four demigods who were watching felt suffocated. After sleeping for so long, I've finally woken up. The white-haired old lady smiled. Greetings, Senior Snow. The black-haired elder bowed slightly. Senior Snow? The other three demigods were confused. Could it be? The three of them knew many secrets. Very quickly, they found the truth from their memories. All of their expressions changed. This white-haired old lady was one of the strongest treasures of the Xia people. However, at the same time, it was also the most difficult to control. A normal deity weapon could be used by a normal demigod. However, the deity weapon represented by Senior Snow was not something a normal demigod could use. At least, the demigods of this era were unable to use it. Senior Snow was the weapon spirit of the deity weapon. For Senior Snow to awaken, there were two possibilities. One was that the deity weapon had sensed the arrival of a terrifying threat, one that would threaten the survival of the Xia people. Hence, the weapon spirit had awakened to warn them. The other possibility was that it had met a suitable master. Don't panic. The white-haired old lady smiled. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. The black-haired elder and the other three demigods heaved a sigh of relief. Bring me out first, the white-haired old lady said. Senior Snow, please. The black-haired elder immediately led the way and quickly left the secret space. The white-haired old lady relied on her senses and quickly arrived at the Hall of Life and Death. The black-haired elder and the other three followed beside her. At the same time, a spatial ripple enveloped their surroundings. As the master of the Infernal Palace, the Infernal Palace master was invincible within the Infernal Realm. He could easily isolate space, preventing others from seeing the four of them. Naturally, they could not see the existence of the white-haired old lady. Senior Snow, how is it? The black-haired elder asked. Found her. The white-haired old lady smiled and nodded. She looked at Jing, who was delaying the battle. Such a pure soul. She became a transcendent and borrowed the power of ice to evolve her soul. The white-haired old lady nodded. That's her. There's no doubt about it. The black-haired elder revealed a joyous expression. But she's too weak now. Only after becoming a demigod will she be able to unleash the full power of the clan's deity weapon. The white-haired old lady said, You Xia people have to nurture her well. There were many deity weapons. They all had their own uses. For example, the Infernal Palace was an extremely important deity weapon. It was a space-type deity weapon and even controlled the entire Infernal Realm. Senior Snow represented a deity weapon. The difficulty of controlling it was too high, but it was also the strongest one. If a demigod could unleash its full power, they would have the power of a deity. We will definitely do our best to nurture her. Tomorrow, I will send her to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. The black-haired elder nodded. And only by sending her to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world will we have a reason to do our best to nurture her. But we still have to keep a low profile and not let others discover her uniqueness. The white-haired old lady asked, All right, what's her name? Jing. The black-haired elder said. Actually, he was having a headache. He could see that Jing would have a hard time winning the third round of the transcendent battle of life and death. Of course, for a young female mage, it was already not bad. But to become a demigod with just this, it was too difficult. But he definitely had to nurture her. Because the moment Jing became a demigod, she would be able to fight against a group of demigods. Finally, he finished this chapter. Who? Pull down the recommendation ticket. Chapter 144. For a demigod to be comparable to a god? At the very least, nobody in this era could do so. Even great elder Ao Lon, who grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning, was only ranked second in the demigod rankings. The group of demigod overlords at the apex all had their own specialties. Nobody could say that a single demigod would be able to defeat all the other demigods. Even a single demigod would find it hard to kill an apex demigod. From this, one could see how terrifying the power of this deity treasure of the Xia people was. Wielding it would allow one's combat power to surpass all other demigods, comparable to a god. This clan protection deity weapon was not something an ordinary deity could obtain. It was the ancestor of the Xia clan who had thought of ways to send it back to their homeland as a clan protection treasure. But because it was too powerful, most demigods could not use it. Only those whose souls could resonate with this powerful deity weapon would have an easier time using it. Only demigods could use it. Ladies and gentlemen, a new meeting of the elders was held. The infernal palace head, the black-haired old man, said, Jing Xiu's importance need not be mentioned. This secret is only known by the elders of the Xia people. It must not be leaked, right? As long as Jing Xiu becomes a demigod, then our Xia people will have given birth to a god with a lifespan of 3,000 years. These elders of the Xia people were all looking forward to it. Gods could not enter the major transcendent worlds, but demigods could. Jing Xiu could rely on that deity treasure to sweep across the major transcendent worlds, including the Beast Clan. For the Beast Clan and the transcendent natives to recover, it would take a long time. The most difficult problem now is how to nurture her into a demigod. The black-haired old man said, Everyone, let's work together and think of a method. We must do our best to nurture her into a demigod. This old man once obtained 3 icy fruits. Chao Qing's shriveled mouth laughed. I originally planned to leave one for that brat Dongbua Ying, one for the Water Taoist faction, and one for the Infernal Palace. But now, I'll give them all to that little girl Jing Xiu. These 3 fruits should be of great help to her. Brother Chao. Many elders of the Xia people tensed up. Chao Qing said it casually, but this frost fruit was the frost geocentric fruit. It was a spirit fruit that was born from the core of the frost world, one of the 8 large-scale transcendent worlds. Each one was worth more than 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. It was much more precious than Dongbua Ying stone of oceanic boundary. Jing Xiu is quite talented, Chao Qing said. As a mage, she became a transcendent at such a young age. Even if we don't nurture her, she can still become a saint. As long as we do our best to nurture her, there's hope for her to become a demigod. However, the Beast Clan's infiltration of the Xia people is too great. Aolan's life magic can't be broken, and I'm afraid that the Beast Clan will find out about Jing Xiu's identity. Don't worry, it's definitely safe in the Infernal Realm. The black-haired old man nodded. Then what if she returns to her hometown? A senior elder asked. I think it's worth dispatching a deity warrior to protect her, the black-haired old man said. Yes, I agree. These elders all agreed. They had already treated Jing Xiu as the most important seedling. As for the other genius transcendents of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain, no matter how powerful they were, it would already be amazing if they could produce another Mountain Lordhi. They would not be able to change the situation of the entire world. But the moment Jing Xiu became a demigod, she would be able to change the entire situation. Sweep through all native transcendent worlds. Sweep through the Beast Clan. After some discussion, the Xia people's senior elders decided on a series of plans regarding Jing Xiu. For example, how to nurture her, how to guide her, and how to secretly use the resources. The resources of the other 10 genius transcendents of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world combined were far from enough to match up to Jing Xiu. This was something that even demigods would be envious of. The Xia people's senior elders were all willing to do this, because it was worth it. If they succeeded, they could casually sweep through any major transcendent world, and their harvest would be enough. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World. This will be your junior apprentice sister from now on. Sikong Yang smiled. She will be the only female mage that our Scarlet Cloud Mountain world is nurturing. Because she is a mage, she will have a demigod mage to guide her. Jing Xiu. The group of transcendents stared in shock at the girl standing beside Sikong Yang. Dressed in green, her hair fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were like the stars in the sky. During the transcendent battle of life and death, her appearance was recognized by all the transcendents as the most beautiful, with the appearance of such a soul-stirring beauty. Even when Ying and in Wu Tsang's eyes couldn't help but light up. So beautiful. Pu Yongbo was almost drooling. And then, Sidu Hong's eyes lit up, his heart itching uncontrollably. Wow! Yufeng couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Ah, Mage Jingqiu is here too. Yuan Xin thought to himself. Looks like she has some talent as well. Donghua Shuang smiled as he watched. Interesting. Too interesting. When Yuan Xin joined the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, he felt that it was very interesting. And when Jingqiu also joined the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Donghua Shuang was really excited. He felt that his cultivation days in the future would be much more interesting. Jingqiu's gaze swept across the crowd and met with Donghua Shuang's gaze. Her face was slightly red. According to the old rules, Jingqiu will be placed in the middle, number 6. Sikong Yang said, "She is a mage. Her improvement in power mainly comes from her research, which is different from the rest of you. Her demigod master will be the judge. You bunch of transcendents better not be overtaken by a female mage." All right, you guys can get to know each other. After Sikong Yang finished speaking, he immediately left. Master Gongyu also left very quickly. Only a group of young transcendents remained. Among them, there were many male transcendents whose hearts were already itching. Although Zhui Yi's extreme body would produce a strong attraction for transcendents, this was a kind of life instinct. It was not something that came from the bottom of the heart. It was a kind of wholehearted love. But Jingqiu was different. Her beauty and temperament would cause others to like her. Humans loved beautiful objects. Looking at her was a form of enjoyment. "Junior Yu, my name is Pu Yongbo." Pu Yongbo was the first to speak excitedly. Just as he was about to say something, Situ Hong grabbed onto his shoulder. A spatial ripple spread out, causing Pu Yongbo to stagger back 2 to 3 steps. This caused Pu Yongbo's expression to change. Situ Hong smiled and said, "Junior Yu, this Pu Yongbo has always liked to chase after female transcendents. It is best to stay away from this kind of person. I am Situ Hong, and I'm only a step away from grasping a spatial true meaning. I should be the fastest among us generals to grasp a true meaning. In the future, becoming a demigod will not be difficult." Situ Hong tried his best to make his smile even more radiant and amiable. Yesterday, during the transcendent battle of life and death, when he saw Jingqiu, Situ Hong became excited. She was too beautiful. She was simply the most perfect creation of the heavens and earth. Such a perfect creation, he definitely had to get his hands on it. But he also understood that he would have many competitors. He did not expect that Jingqiu would actually come to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. That's great. The heavens are helping me. In the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, who else could compete with me? As for Junior Zhui, who he had chased before, Junior Zhui, he had always been hanging on to him. After so many years, he had not even held her hand. If he did not grasp a true meaning, Junior Zhui, he would not even give him chance. Now that he saw Jingqiu, he had completely thrown Zhui to the back of his mind. Senior Snow Eagle. Jingqiu opened her mouth. Her voice was very pleasant to listen to. What? Many people were stunned. Situ Hong was even more dazed. She called out Senior Snow Eagle. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over Situ Hong's heart. What a coincidence to see you here too, Senior Snow Eagle. Jingqiu took a step forward and floated in front of Donghua Shuang. What a coincidence. Donghua Shuang revealed a smile. Chapter 145. As the two of them walked together, a simple sentence broke the hearts of many transcendents beside them. "There's no hope. There's no hope." Pu Yongbo muttered. "Listen, all of you listen. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. I can't take it anymore. AI, why don't the ones I like me? Because your eyes are too high and your legs are too short." Zhang Peng laughed. "Haven't you always wanted to find a wife? How many mortal beauties are there in the world? Why want us to grow old together? Do you understand?" Pu Yongbo glared. Female transcendents were few in number. Beautiful female transcendents were even harder to pursue. I don't understand, but I know. If you continue like this, I'm afraid you won't be able to find a wife by the time your hair turns white. Zhang Peng joked. I can't be bothered to talk to you. The person I admire the most now is junior brother Dongbua. Junior brother, congratulations. You're really amazing. Were you going to teach me some moves so that I can successfully pursue a female transcendence? Pu Yangbo shouted. Dongbua Shui Ying was stunned. No, I and senior brother Snow Eagle have known each other since we were mortals. Jing Qiu said. Oh, so you've known each other since you were mortals? Looks like there's no hope for the other transcendents. Yu Feng said. Of course there's no hope. Pu Yangbo sneered. Many of the transcendents had wives before. It's just that their wives died of old age. Losing to disciple brother Dongbo, I wholeheartedly accept it. Disciple brother Dongbo is a good person, and he's also young. Oh, if I think about it carefully, disciple brother Dongbo should be younger than disciple sister Yu by 3 years. Yes, Dongbua Shuiying nodded. But when senior brother Snow Eagle's name shook the entire Azure River County and killed Xiang Pengyun, I was still a Silver Moon mage. Jingxiu looked at Dongbua Shuiying and said, her eyes glowing. Her feelings towards Dongbua Shuiying were somewhat complicated. Back then, he had saved her when she was in despair, and he was deeply imprinted in her heart. At the very least, she could not forget him. Later on, she often heard news about Dongbua Shuiying. When she thought that Dongbua Shuiying had died, she was devastated for a long time. Later, in the Xia capital, he saw Dongbua Shuiying become a transcendent. Even the transcendent battle of life and death was dazzling. Genius. Amazing. In her heart, the person she admired the most was Dongbua Shuiying, although there were more powerful transcendents, such as demigods. However, she had witnessed the rise of Dongbua Shuiying, so this kind of worship was naturally nurtured. Especially when she saw Dongbua Shuiying chatting happily with the other transcendents in the sky, she felt a little sad. Because she didn't even have the qualifications to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Because she was not a transcendent. She didn't look for Dongbua Shuiying. Instead, she immersed herself in research. Finally, 16 years after the transcendent battle of life and death, she finally broke through to become a transcendent. That day, in Qiu Qi Bai's mansion, when their gazes met, she was incomparably happy, because she could finally stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Junior brother Dongbua might have been dazzling when he was young, but now he's gone down the wrong path. Situ Hong suddenly spoke with a pained expression. Gone down the wrong path. Jing Qiu was startled. Yes, he destroyed his own future and is destined to be a nobody with no future. At most, he will become a weaker saint transcendent. This caused the demigods to be extremely furious. Now, in our Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, he is ranked last. Junior sister Jing Qiu. Now that you're here, he will be ranked 11th. Situ Hong said, what a pity, his original future was bright, but now. Jing Qiu couldn't believe it. The Dongbua Shuiying that she worshipped really caused the demigods to be extremely furious, and he destroyed his own future? It's just a difference of ideals. The demigods are indeed furious. Dongbua Shuiying nodded, then glanced at Situ Hong and sneered. Situ Hong, didn't you say before that I, Dongbua Shuiying, am not worthy to be your junior brother? Is being your junior brother a disgrace to you? Jing Qiu was startled. She wasn't stupid and immediately felt that the relationship between the two wasn't right. Sigh. Situ Hong shook his head. Junior brother Dongbua, you are after all a part of my Scarlet Cloud Mountain. So naturally, you are my junior brother. The reason why I said that before was to encourage you. Just like how faction head Si Kong Yang scolded you time and time again. It was also because I hoped that you would turn over a new leaf. Sigh, but from the looks of it, it's impossible for you to turn over a new leaf. I won't be a bad person anymore. Continue acting. Pu Yangbo sneered at the side. You discovered that junior brother Dongbua and junior sister you were close. So you started acting? Junior brother Pu Yang, I'm not acting. All these years, Dongbua is first from the bottom, and you're second from the bottom, and you guys don't care. I'm the oldest senior brother. I'm just anxious for you guys. Situ Hong said with a pained heart. When Situ Hong saw the conversation between Dongbua, Shui Ying, and Jing Qiu, he immediately understood that the relationship between the two wasn't ordinary. So if he wanted to woo Jing Qiu, he had to change his plan. The mind of a transcendent changed very quickly, and he quickly decided on a new plan. Humph, Dongbua Shuiying, this foolish and arrogant brat, I'll coax you first after I woo junior sister Jing Qiu. When she stands on my side, I'll ruthlessly kick you away. Situ Hong thought to himself. Interesting. Dongbua Shuiying suddenly laughed. The others all looked at Dongbua Shuiying. In terms of hypocrisy, Dongbua Shuiying looked at Situ Hong. Even if the rest of us in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world were added together, we still wouldn't be able to match up to you. Situ Hong's heart was instantly filled with rage, but on the surface, he still maintained a smile. Forget it. Just treat it as me looking down on you. I'm looking down on you. You're so frivolous, so lazy in your cultivation that even the demigods are heartbroken. How can I look up to you? If you wanted to look up to you, you'll have to start all over again. At that time, faction head Si Kongyang will give you another chance. Senior brother Snow Eagle, accompany me for a walk. I'm still not very familiar with the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Jing Qiu said. She also felt that the atmosphere wasn't right. After all, it was her first time here, and only Yuan Qing and Dongbua Shuiying were familiar with each other. She wasn't too familiar with the other senior brothers and sisters. All right, Dongbua Shuiying nodded his head. So. The two of them immediately soared into the sky. Situ Hong's face was slightly pale. Humph. Shui coldly snorted, then flew towards her own bamboo house. A certain someone doesn't even know how old he is, and he still dares to fight with junior brother Dongbua. His skin is really thick. Pu Yangbo sneered, then left with Yufeng, Zhang Peng, and the rest. Just you wait. Today is the first time I've met junior sister Jing Qiu. We're not that close. In the future, we'll be together in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, and we'll have a long time together. Situ Hong thought to himself. He had enough confidence that he wouldn't even look up to the other males in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. As for Dongbua Shuiying, from his point of view, Dongbua Shuiying was ranked last, and wasn't even worthy of fighting with him. Dongbua Shuiying and Jing Qiu were flying side by side in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. The mountains were endless, and there was a layer of fog in between the mountains, making it look like a dream. So beautiful, Jing Qiu exclaimed. I really didn't expect this. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. We met during the first Black Iron mission, and now we're flying side by side in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Jing Qiu nodded her head lightly. Everything felt like a dream. That year, she was still a weak mage hiding under the protection of Dongbua Shuiying's body under the collapsed palace. Now, she was also a powerful transcendent, just that Dongbua Shuiying had clearly walked even further. Senior brother Snow Eagle, can you tell me about it? How did you enrage the demigods? Jing Qiu asked. Chapter 146. Infuriate them. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. He did not hide anything and told her everything. Jing Qiu listened by the side. She heard Dongbua Shuiying say, become stronger for the sake of becoming stronger? Cultivate for the sake of cultivating? I feel that such days are a form of torture, because of the passion in my heart, I am able to move forward fearlessly. Each and every one of those words, Jing Qiu could feel Dongbua Shuiying's firm conviction in his heart. This conviction was incomparably strong and firm, and nobody could shake it. Am I being too arrogant? Dongbua Shuiying laughed. No. Jing Qiu shook her head lightly. Oh. Dongbua Shuiying was slightly surprised. Among transcendents, at least 7 or 8 out of 10 would think that he was being too arrogant. Jing Qiu smiled. I can feel senior disciple brother Shuiying's confidence. Even if faction head Si Kongyang reprimanded you, it has already been more than 6 years, and senior disciple brother Shuiying still has no regrets. I knew it. Senior Snow Eagle's choice should be right. Ha ha ha. Donghua Shuang laughed. I really didn't expect that so many people think I'm wrong, but you actually agree with me. Donghua Shuang looked at the boundless mountain range and said in high spirits, what you said is right. 6 years have passed, but I don't have any regrets. Because I believe that my current Tao path is far more perfect than the true meaning of water and fire. Let's wait and see. Time will prove everything. Donghua Shuang said confidently. I will wait for Senior Snow Eagle to grasp a high-grade, true meaning, Jing Qiu said. Beauty lies in the eyes of a lover. By the same logic, the moment a woman developed feelings of admiration for a man, she would naturally stand by his side. Even if faction head Si Kong Yang and the others reprimanded her, she would still be willing to stand by Donghua Shui Ying's side. Hoo-hoo! The two flew side by side. Look! Donghua Shui Ying pointed at the towering mountain in front of them. That is the soaring cloud peak, my favorite mountain. I usually train my spear techniques here. Soaring cloud peak? Jing Qiu's eyes brightened as she looked up at the mountain peak. In her eyes, this precipitous mountain peak was as proud and aloof as Shuang. Disciple Brother Shuang, can I go up and take a look? Of course, anyone can go up. Donghua Shuang laughed. The two immediately flew towards the soaring cloud peak. Asterisk, 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 the entire Xia clan was as peaceful as ever. Among the group of young transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Zhang Peng continued to crazily pursue Disciple Sister Zhu Yi, but Disciple Sister Zhu Yi did not even look at him. Sidu Hong, on the other hand, was fawning over little junior sister Jing Qiu. He had a graceful demeanor, showing concern for her in all aspects, but Jing Qiu had always maintained a distance from him. As for the last-ranked Xia people, he was the most fanatical in his cultivation. Other than spending part of his time reading scrolls in the Xia History Pavilion, he spent the rest of his time cultivating in the soaring cloud peak. This level of fanaticism made the other young transcendents speechless. They were puzzled. Wasn't it tiring to cultivate so crazily? Shouldn't there be tension and relaxation during cultivation? Wouldn't he go crazy if he kept forcing himself and his nerves were always stretched taut? But in reality, Donghua Shuang had never felt tired because he had always been fanatical about it. What he cultivated was what he loved, what he was addicted to. At the peak of the soaring cloud peak, the sunset glow shone on the distant mountain peak. It was a beautiful sight. Jing Qiu, who was dressed in white, was sitting on the ground. A huge conical spell model was floating in front of her. She stared at the spell model, and from time to time, a part of the spell model would collapse and reform. After pondering for a long time, she raised her head and looked at the young man in black who was walking on the peak. She couldn't help but have a sweet smile on her face. Donghua Shuang seemed to have sensed something. He looked at Jing Qiu and smiled as well. Ever since Jing Qiu came, the reason why he cultivated so passionately was because Jing Qiu was accompanying him. Jing Qiu also liked to come to the soaring cloud peak. She did not disturb Donghua Shuang. Instead, she studied the nature of heaven and earth and pondered over the spell model. Donghua Shuang, on the other hand, was studying the spear. The two did not speak much. They cultivated on their own, but when their gazes met, they could feel each other's thoughts. Occasionally, they would have a casual chat. In their lonely cultivation, they had become each other's confidants and companions. As time passed, both of them understood each other's feelings. Donghua Shui Ying had indeed fallen in love with Jing Qiu. When they first met, his heart was moved. Moreover, they were confidants in cultivation. As time passed, their feelings for each other deepened. Jing Qiu had already fallen in love with Donghua Shuang. After spending some time with him, her feelings for Donghua Shui Ying grew deeper. Although both of them had feelings for each other and knew each other's feelings, they did not plan to get married immediately. As transcendents, they had long lives. They preferred to let their feelings for each other take their course. When they felt that it was time for them to get married, they would probably get married. As for now, both of them needed to spend a lot of time on cultivation. They were not in a hurry to get married. HM, what's wrong? Donghua Shuiying walked on the mountain peak in distress. Hua, suddenly, another Donghua Shuiying appeared beside him. Following that, another Donghua Shuiying squatted beside a rock not far away. 3 Donghua Shuiying were on the mountain peak. One was walking, one was lying down, and one was squatting. They were either frowning in deep thought, feeling troubled, or mumbling to themselves. I've already reached the 3rd level in the realms of myriad existences. In terms of illusions, it should be not bad. But in terms of offense, it's still lacking. One of the 3, Donghua Shuiying, lightly pierced out with his finger. Hua, the finger pierced out. It was as if wind, fire, and water were intertwining around the finger. It was as if nothing could stop it. It pierced through the air, creating a visible shockwave. This shockwave traveled through several kilometers and landed on a tall mountain. With a pu sound, the shockwave directly pierced a deep hole in a mountain wall, so deep that one could not even see the bottom. Just the power of a finger was much stronger than some complete grade 9 or 8 true meanings. This is not what I want. The spear technique I want, this stab, should be even pure. Everything is one. This stab will be unleashed. The 3 Donghua Shuiying were all mumbling to themselves. I can't understand. I can't understand at all. Suddenly, the other 2 Donghua Shuiying disappeared, leaving only one Donghua Shuiying sitting on a rock. Taking out a flask of wine, he raised his head and gulped it down. At this moment, Jing Xiao, who was beside him, stopped. The spell model, floating in front of her, also dissipated. She smiled at Donghua Shuiying, senior disciple Snow Eagle. Don't force yourself too much. In terms of combat power, the others in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world are no match for you. If you are so disappointed, shouldn't the others find a piece of tofu to kill themselves? Find a piece of tofu to kill themselves? Donghua Shuiying raised his head and looked at Jing Xiao, laughing. Jing Xiao, I have never thought of comparing myself with others. I just feel that my profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind have already reached the 3rd level in the realms of myriad existences, and I have even fused them together. This feeling of imperfection is like having a fly in a pot of soup, making me feel uncomfortable. Then you have to work hard. I can only cheer for you from aside. Jing Qiu laughed. Her eyes were filled with a trace of worship. As a powerful transcendent mage, she would naturally quantify Donghua Shuiying's combat power. Donghua Shuiying was too lazy to reveal his strength in front of the other demigods. Thus, Jing Xiu was the only one who knew how powerful he was. After quantifying his strength, Jing Xiu was clear that even though the other 9 transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world were outstanding, Donghua Shuiying had already surpassed all of them. First chapter. Chapter 147. Senior Snow Eagle's fusion of the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind is so powerful that it feels like the profound mysteries of a grade 2 true meaning. Jing Qiu deduced. In the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Yuan Xing, Wu Tsang, Wen Yong-en, and Sido Hong had all comprehended the profound mysteries of a grade 3 true meaning. As long as one compared them, one could see that there was a clear gap between them and Donghua Shuiying. From this point, if the profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind were to form a true meaning in the future, it should be a grade 2 true meaning. Where can it be perfected? This stab, why can't it be pure? All myriad existences as one, stabbing out? Donghua Shuiying drank his wine, frowning as he tried again and again with his fingers. Jing Qiu watched silently from the side. No one in the history of the Xia clan has ever walked down this path. Disciple Brother Shuiying, walking down a new path of comprehending a grade 2 true meaning is extremely difficult, and nobody can help you. You can only rely on yourself. But I believe that you can do it. Hoo. Donghua Shuiying's figure split apart, revealing 3 black-robed Donghua Shuiying. Each Donghua Shuiying had 6 arms, and the 3 of them were scattered around the mountain peak. Each of their arms were stabbing out with their fingers, trying to improve their spear techniques. Illusory coexistence. Illusory images are ultimately unorthodox techniques meant to aid me in combat. Dongbui Shui Ying muttered to himself. It's meant to allow me to display a greater threat during combat. It's just a form of support. The most fundamental aspect of my combat is still to display my strength. This stab, how can it be perfected? Sila, with a stab of his fingers, the air distorted and was torn apart. Dongbui Shui pondered. Reaching the third level of myriad existences, the embryonic form of a true meaning would be formed. At this point, he should be able to vaguely see his own path of true meaning. Because after reaching the third level of myriad existences was grasping hold of true meaning. Only when this stab is perfected can my third level of myriad existences be considered complete. Dongbui Shui Ying was looking forward to it. As his cultivation increased, it was clear that he was getting closer to true meaning. What? Heavens! Knight of the everlasting wind. He became a demigod. This piece of news spread across the entire Xia people like a whirlwind. Even the transcendent natives and the Beast clan received the news. The entire world shook. Dragon Mountain calendar, year 9661, March 3rd. On this day, Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai became a demigod. This day was destined to be recorded in the history of the Xia people. Other than the Beast clan's great elder Ao Lan, there was finally another demigod who grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning. Furthermore, it was different from Elder Ao Lan's true meaning of life, which was more mysterious and unpredictable. Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai's true meaning of space cleavage was a true meaning that was extremely ferocious in battle. Dong, dong, dong. On this day, the drums of the infernal palace resounded, shaking the heavens and earth. The entire Xia capital was in jubilation. The human transcendents were all very proud and excited. They all agreed that Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai should have the strength of the top 10 demigods. In a few hundred years, he would probably be ranked first on the demigod list. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, halfway up the Bamboo House Mountain, Dongbui Shui Ying and the other transcendents were gathered here. He's here. Eternal Wind Knight is here. Dongbui Shui Ying, Jing Xiu, and the other transcendents raised their heads to look. In the distance, there were 4 figures flying side by side, just like 4 deities. The one leading them was the Infernal Palace head. Although his combat power was relatively weak, firstly, he was unparalleled in the infernal world. Secondly, he had truly dedicated himself to the Xia people. Naturally, his status was special. Beside the Infernal Palace head were Si Kong Yang, Qiu Qi Bai, and Gong Yu. Eternal Wind Knight is really handsome. Senior apprentice sister Zhui Yi's eyes lit up. Compared to Eternal Wind Knight, Sidu Hong and Dongbui Shui Ying are far too lacking. They are too immature. Sidu Hong glanced at Zhui Yi and thought, do you think Eternal Wind Knight will look up to you? Ever since Sidu Hong started pursuing Jing Xiu, he and Zhui Yi had completely parted ways. This is my chance. Eternal Wind Knight is the only demigod who has grasped hold of a branch of the true meaning of space. Sidu Hong's eyes lit up. His guidance will be 100 to 1,000 times better than the guidance of other demigods. I must grasp this chance. They're here. This is our chance. Zhang Peng, Puyangbo, and Yufeng were all excited. After all, they were all comprehending the profound mysteries of space. So. For demigods descended from the sky. Greetings to the 4 seniors. Dongbui Shui Ying and the other transcendents bowed respectfully. Your luck is extremely good this time. Faction head Si Kong Yang said, Eternal Wind Knight has just broken through to become a demigod and needs to consolidate his foundation. Thus, we allowed him to come to this Scarlet Cloud mountain world to meditate. He will also give you a few pointers. He is the only demigod of our Xia people who has grasped hold of grade 3 true meaning. Speaking of which, Sidu Hong, Zhang Peng, the 2 of you should be around the same age as Eternal Wind Knight, right? Sidu Hong and Zhang Peng turned silent. That's right. They were just over 300 years old. Eternal Wind Knight is already a demigod, yet the two of you have yet to comprehend a true meaning related to space. Sikong Yang swept his gaze across, pausing on Dongbua Shui Ying for a moment. As for the others, all of you should focus on going against the style of a high official. Sikong Yang then looked at Chi Chiu Bai with a smile. How you want to guide these little fellows? It's up to you. If you don't have the time and are too lazy to guide them, then it's up to you. Chi Chiu Bai would very likely become the #1 expert under the heavens in a few hundred years. Naturally, everything would be decided by Chi Chiu Bai. I didn't know that our Xia people have a plan to groom substitute elders. Chi Chiu Bai smiled as he swept his gaze across. Snow Eagle, Mage Jing Xiu, Yuan Qing, I didn't expect the three of you to be in the list of substitute elders. It seems that our Tranquil Sun province has many talents. This is bad. Sidu Hong's heart sank. From the looks of it, Chi Chiu Bai and Dongbua Shui Ying had a good relationship. Snow Eagle, you're actually ranked first from the bottom? Chi Chiu Bai laughed. This time, when I came to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, I knew your ranking in advance. When I saw that Snow Eagle was ranked first from the bottom, I was shocked for a long time. I'm ashamed. Dongbua Shui Ying shook his head helplessly. This Dongbua Shui Ying is too arrogant and conceited. Faction head Sikong Yang said coldly. He cultivates as he pleases. He actually broke his own true meaning of water and fire. Furthermore, I gave him a direction to cultivate, but he completely ignored it. Right, this Dongbua Shui Ying is too impudent. Gong Yu agreed. Faction head, I don't agree with your way of thinking, Chi Chiu Bai said. Faction head Sikong Yang was stunned. Everyone else was stunned. Zhi, Wen Yong, and Do Ro Ro, Yuan Qing, Jing Xiu, Wu Cong, and the rest were all shocked at this scene. In public, Chi Chiu Bai actually directly denied faction head Sikong Yang's words. If Dongbua Shui Ying dared to talk back, faction head Sikong Yang would definitely reprimand him. But now that Chi Chiu Bai refuted him, faction head Sikong Yang was momentarily speechless. Because of the difference in their statuses, Chi Chiu Bai's current strength was extremely high. It was very close to Sikong Yang's. In the future, he would become the #1 under the heavens, surpassing even Mountain Lord He. For such a person, anyone would have to think twice before saying anything. Eternal Wind, you don't agree with what I said? Faction head Sikong Yang asked. His attitude was completely different from how he treated Dongbua Shui Ying. Cultivation is a very personal matter. Chi Chiu Bai sighed. Cultivation is the convergence of a person's wisdom, perception, and comprehension of life. I don't agree with others setting a direction for themselves. That is too reckless. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.